This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
The stripes are out grazing in the golden grass. The clouds are starting to build. Will we get rain this afternoon? This is Safari Live.
Ready. Standing by.
Good afternoon, and a good afternoon it actually is. It's a beautiful day out here in the Mara Triangle in Kenya. Welcome, everybody, to today's Sunset Safari. My name is Taylor, and on camera with me today is David. Ooh, lucky you got a normal name. Always try and trick him, make him nervous, sitting on the edge of his seat. Yeah, exactly. Anyways, this is live, this is interactive, this is happening right now. And for those of you who are just joining us for the first time, a big welcome to all of you. Remember, it's live and interactive, so you can actually talk to us. You can hashtag Safari Live, or you can chat to us on the YouTube chat. Both of those are acceptable. Isn't this gorgeous? All the zebra out and about today. It's really quite stunning at the moment, especially with the dark clouds looming in the distance. I think it will create some beautiful sort of shot out here rather than just blue skies. Isn't that lovely? Now, it isn't just me out here today. You'll have the pleasure of being guided by Steph too, and Craig on the other car. Who knows what they're going to pull out of their sleeves, although Steph can't really pull anything out of his sleeves because he's wearing short sleeves. So anyways. Look at that long tail. Isn't that a great tail for a zebra? Shame. As we were driving down the Escarpment Road, which is a road we take every single morning and afternoon, coming down to the open plains at the base of the triangle, we saw a zebra that unfortunately had lost its tail. Now, we've watched many times as to how zebras lose their tail, and out in this particular area, it seems as though the crocodiles are the ones that take them. And I think that that zebra is particularly lucky. That is actually the nicest zebra tail I've ever seen. Let's compare it. Look at this one. That's beautiful. And look how thin and, well, scraggly that one is. That's not too great. That's a normal zebra tail. Actually, that could be the Taylor McCurdy of zebra, except it's got the wrong color hair, because it's just about as thick as mine, and I think my ponytail kind of resembles that. Well, if James was here, he'd probably tell me that my ponytail resembles the strands of a zebra's tail. Right. I'm going to send you across to Steph. I just saw him darting around in the distance. I think he's going to look for some lions. Let's jump on board with him.
Good afternoon. I definitely am looking for lions this afternoon. My name is Steph Winsboer, and on camera we've got Craig today. And our mission is lion. And the best way to find lion is obviously to go where there's food. And there couldn't be more food on the hoof than right here where we are right now. And I want to show you, we've got a herd of buffalo here. These are Cape buffalo or plains buffalo. Let me just get into a nice spot that isn't going to get us ambushed by a passing dragster. And I think one of these mountain drains here would work quite well. Not getting too stranded. There we go. Just have a look at that. These are Cape buffalo or plains buffalo, common buffalo, and one of the larger herbivores that we have out here. They are grass-eating and fearsome animals. I must be honest with you, they've got a fearsome reputation for being cantankerous and a killer of man and beast alike. Lots of lion food here. Now, it's not common for lion to hunt buffalo in areas where there are a lot of slightly smaller herbivores. So lions are supremely gifted at hunting things in the zebra, kudu, wildebeest, waterbuck, and then all the baby things as well. So that's their size. That's the size that they are sort of, I suppose, genetically designed to catch. However, in areas where you have an overabundance of some or other animal, whether it's buffalo, whether it's impala, or even elephant or hippo, lions will learn how to hunt whatever the most common food source is. And that's the brilliance and the successfulness of lion. In this area, they eat a lot of buffalo, but the buffalo have got a really interesting technique for keeping themselves safe. At night time, the female buffalo and their calves will go and corral together, and male buffalo will form a perimeter around them, all with their horns facing outwards. And it does take a concerted effort from lion to get buffalo to break that formation. They get it right when they know how to, and quite often it's too much for the average lion pride. Now, not forgetting, this is an interactive show. Please ask questions using the question bar on whatever social media platform you're using at the moment. The hashtag Safari Live works incredibly well. And we'll try and get through as many questions as we can over the course of the next couple of hours. Now, as Taylor did mention, my mission is to find you some lion. We were with some lion today on the edge of the marsh just in front of us down there. And with all these buffalo in the area and with all these zebra in the area, I want to know what has happened to those lions. I want to know if they've hunted this afternoon, this morning. It's been an incredibly hot day today. In actual fact, we thought that it was going to rain. Now, it might still rain tonight. It's one of these baking hot days out here in the Mara today, which is uncommon because generally the temperature here is very, very nice. It's a very comfortable temperature. Right, so we're going to be making our way there to that marsh there. Let's see what we can find. Sina, you just asked how big a prey item can a lion pride catch. Sina, it's not. I've seen lions take down giraffe, which are sort of 1.5 tons, so that is 3,000 pounds about. I've seen lion take down hippopotamus at 4,000–5,000 pounds. I've seen lion jump on an elephant, but I've never seen them take one down. But there's lots of video footage of lion hunting elephants in Chobe National Park. And even sort of full-grown elephant, full-grown bull elephant. And there you're looking at 10,000 pounds plus. So lions are capable of taking down the biggest of the African plains herbivores. But their main food source is anything in the region of about 500 pounds or so. Sylvie, you'd like to know if Sabi sand buffaloes act the same as Mara buffaloes. That's actually quite a nice question. I'll tell you why. Because when I got here, I've always known buffalo to be cantankerous. I'm very, very careful of them. We've got a whole bunch of olive baboons running around here. I'm very careful of buffalo when on a walk, but you hardly ever have a problem with them at Juma. Out here though, the buffalo have just got a very angry look about themselves. These are some olive baboons. These are also different to the Chakma baboon that we find at Juma. They are a lot more brazen when it comes down to walking onto these open plains for food. Usually baboons like the cover of trees. These baboons have no fear of walking out into the open whatsoever. And I think it's because they live in much larger family groups, double, triple the size of a Chakma baboon. They're the same size, they look a bit fluffier. They're the same weight as a Chakma baboon. For that matter, they're the same weight as a yellow baboon as well. Now, yellow baboons are funny, whereas Chakma baboons, let's call them the norm. Yellow baboons are these rangy, tall baboons, and olive baboons are these stocky, fluffy things that you can see now. Very different from one another, although very, very similar in physiology and behavior. Look at that swagger. Gremlins General, do olive baboons eat olives? I suppose given the chance, Gremlins General, they would absolutely eat olives. However, there are, apart from the wild olive tree here, there are no olives per se. They will eat fruit though from almost anything. The reference to olive comes from that slightly greenish tinge to their coat. We'll see if I can show it to you in the sun. It's most evident in the sunshine. We'll see if we can get close to this baboon here. So they've got a slight sort of greenish tinge to their coat. While you're looking at that, I'm quickly just going to stand up and fix our raincoat, which has come unstuck. These things happen, you know. I'll be with you in a second. Excuse the shaking on the car. You can see those two bald patches on their bum. That is from sitting. They eat a lot of grass shoots, and they do have bare bums to start with. It's not like they've sat all their hair off or rubbed it off or that there's got something wrong with them. But you can just see those two calloused patches on their butt cheeks. I think they're quite funny. Lynn, you wanted to know if these baboons are more aggressive than the Chacma baboons or the Juma baboons? Yes, they are. These baboons, there's a lot of recorded evidence of them actually attacking lion and leopard. Chacma baboon do attack lion, do attack leopard all the time. Excuse me, I'm getting mixed up. But the olive baboon will attack even lion, and that is why I think they're so brazen. And by coming out onto these open fields, I don't think that they're scared of much, to be honest with you. Now, what's happening to this grooming pair? It's got not much to do with picking off fleas, and a lot to do with allo grooming. Allo grooming is it's a social bonding exercise. So what they're doing is they're grooming one another, but it's not really grooming. It's more just a I'm okay, you're okay response. Now, Ruth, you've asked me, would these baboons jump into the car? It's common that baboons in areas where people stop, that have food on their cars, do jump into the cars. They're doing it not because of anything else except for the fact that they are making the most out of an opportunity of free food. And some baboons can even get quite dangerous and bite people looking for food. But these baboons do not get fed from the cars. The cars all have their food, if anything, all stowed away quite tight in cooler boxes and things like that. And these baboons don't get to learn that there's food in these cars. So for the most part, they just avoid the cars. It's about as close as we can get to them, or that they get to us. You see that very shaggy fur. Alright, so we're going to carry on going down the edge of this marsh, and when we find what we're looking for, we'll obviously let you know. In the meantime, we're going to send you over to Taylor, who's now crossed the concrete bridge and is en route to her intended targets.
We have indeed crossed the concrete bridge. Now, I've heard all sorts of stories, so I'm just checking that there's no car behind us, that Steph apparently is the best driver of all the presenters. I'm a little bit insulted by that, but it's okay, David. Right, where's the next bump we can hit? And I'm joking. So I'm actually, the reason why I'm surprised, let me get to my point, is because how did Steph make it down the escarpment road quicker than I did? I thought I was going pretty fast. If you hear some talking, it is Mrs. Google, well, I don't actually know, Mrs. Interweb GPS guiding me about here. I was just making sure I was going to take the right road to get back to the sausage tree pride lionesses that are somewhere in that vicinity. Hopefully they'll still be around. Also, remember this morning I told you that we saw 2 rhinos very briefly. Whether they're still going to be around, I'm not so sure, but we'll keep an eye out in this tree line just to our left. That's where they were moving around this morning. It was causing a lot, not commotion, commotion's wrong, but lots of excitement amongst all of the guides. I don't think rhino sightings happen too often, just every now and then. You just got to be at the right place at the right time. They're so shy and they disappear so quickly as well. So we're going up to the little hill, and hopefully those lionesses will still be lying about. Perhaps the young cubs have come out now that they've been told they can come out, not just appearing when they want to be, which seems to be their favorite thing to do. But what's good news for the sausage tree pride of lions is that there's still quite a bit of game around. There's lots of zebra. The buff have actually moved down from where we had them. Maybe they've already killed something. I don't know. I can see some antelope around, so could be quite exciting. Ooh. So hopefully they will catch something. I feel as though I've now deserved to watch them make a kill. We've seen them make many unsuccessful attempts. And I look forward to seeing them feast upon an animal and watch those little cubs eat. I think that could be quite entertaining. And well, speaking about food, there was a question from Mohammed about how much can a lion eat in one go. It's so, Mohammed, it depends on the size of the lion. Obviously, a big adult male is going to eat a whole lot more than a fully grown lioness. So I would say a lioness probably eats maybe about 7 kilograms of flesh in one go, in one sitting, which is quite a bit, and their stomach distends massively. And then I would say a male lion probably could eat about double that. Quite a lot of food. So you can see why when you have prides of lions, it's ideal that they catch something large so that they don't have to just eat once. They can eat off it 2 or 3 times and be fine. But you'll find though, once they've gorged themselves the first time, they don't necessarily eat that same amount the second time they eat. They might sleep it off for a couple of hours and then they'll munch a little bit again, bloat their stomachs up, go back to sleep. But they're still, it's still a process to digest all of that food. I did see a vehicle up here, so I wonder if they hadn't spotted the lions. I don't know if they would have come down this far just yet. So we'll just keep going towards where we left them this morning, and then maybe we'll start spotting them. It's been very hot. There are clouds. Were there clouds this morning? I'm trying to think. No, it was just a little bit hazy. So there's more cloud cover now. So I can't imagine that they would have been sitting out in the sun. I think they probably would still be sitting in the tree line in the shade. It was nice and cool along there. And I think that felt quite safe too. And they'll conceal themselves from the prey that they'll potentially be hunting. Ah, Tony, you've said that you're hoping to see the lion cubs. Me too. I really am enjoying these 4 youngsters. They are quite lovely, especially that little one that's a lighter color. I think it's a female. Very funny, that one. Reminds me of the youngest Nguma cub, the feistiest one. But we'll have to wait till we see them on a kill. Actually, watch from start to finish to see if she still has that feisty trait to her. Maybe there could be distant cousins of the Nkuhuma pride. Obviously not. It's too far away. Anyways, we're going to head towards our lions, and who knows what other surprises may be out there. Let's go back to Steph, who's searching far and wide for his kitty cats that he had this morning.
Well, you're almost in the area, but as has happened now 3 days in a row, these elephants have sidetracked me. What is amazing about this particular elephant is that it's blazing hot outside. Now, elephants have a very thick skin over their forehead, across their back, and on their rump, on the back of their legs. It can be up to 15 centimeters thick, which is, on an adult, if you hold up your hands, just the skin, that's not the subcutaneous fat layers or anything like that, just the skin is fingers deep, basically, on an adult. So as long as your fingers are, that's how thick the skin is. That is an unbelievable amount of skin. But what it does do is it protects the elephant to a degree from the hot sun. An elephant's skin on the surface can reach 50 degrees centigrade. Can you believe it? It's enough to cook an egg on. Now, Linda, you say, what a big elephant. It's a fairly big elephant. It's not the biggest elephant I've ever seen. But male elephant in the Mara tend to be quite small. And I haven't quite decided why yet. I think it's as a result of years of hunting pressure. You do get large tusked elephant here, but you don't get large bodied elephant. And I don't know why yet. Elephant, given the choice, will eat grass and not have a diet of too many sticks. And here the grass grows pretty much year round, and I do not understand why there's such small-bodied elephant around. It just doesn't make any sense. But nevertheless, they are here. This is a male elephant and not a female elephant. And I suppose, Sinak, you wanted to know what age they get that hump on their back. I don't think I've ever been asked that question before, Sinak, and that is in a lot of game drives that I've done. So that hump basically is their shoulder blade, and it sticks out because their neck is hanging down to support their head, which is in the grass, busy feeding, giving the elephant purchase to, you know, without too much effort, pull the grass out like it is. So, in a nutshell, even baby elephant will have that hump. But the question, I suppose, is why don't you see it in baby elephant? I think it's because baby elephant don't hang their heads down as much as what adult elephants do. Let's see if we can prove that throughout the course of the afternoon. I'm going to be looking for some other baby elephants and see whether or not that hump on their legs is evident or not. And then we'll see if we can answer that question for you, Sinak. Now, from this vantage point and looking back over the Ululolo escarpment, we can see the buildup of some large clouds, which is fairly typical here after a hot day. Just have a look at that giant cumulus cloud. Now, it'll become a cumulus nimbus cloud as soon as we can see evidence of rain coming out the bottom. For now, it's just a cumulus cloud. And that is from convection, meaning it's moisture-rich air that has probably got its moisture from Lake Victoria, which lies at the base of those clouds. And because it's been such a hot day, as the air is rising, this moisture starts to condense at dew point temperature and will continue to condense until that temperature changes. And there we're seeing these clouds topping out. We're at 2,000 or just under 2,000 feet above sea level here, and those clouds will go up to 18,000 feet above sea level. Excuse me, it could go up to 80,000 feet above sea level. Isn't that just amazing? We've got some giraffe with these elephants as well. Quite nice to see, in actual fact, their heads in the bushes. These are the Maasai giraffe. Not the same as the common giraffe that you'd see down at Juma. These ones are slightly smaller, and that is a beautiful picture of a Maasai giraffe with their irregular shaped brown marks and their much whiter faces. In the background there you've got some zebra and there's an elephant. Just layers upon layers of animals here today. Now, Ruth, you want to know if I've seen a leopard yet in the Mara? I have not, to be honest with you. I've heard one calling once, and I've seen Scott's video of one. And the other day, Vincent, on Friday, showed one. He had one. I have not seen a leopard yet, Ruth. I actually thought I was going to see one this morning. I was quite excited about it. There were some monkeys that were calling, and we went to go and have a look, but we couldn't see anything. They were calling at something on the other side of the river, of the Mara River. So it's coming. I'll see a leopard here eventually. That's the nice thing about being and living in an area like this, is that all things in time. All right, we're going to go forward a little bit. Let's see if we can get closer to this Ellie, at least see a baby elephant, so that Sinak and I can have a closure to the conversation we've had about elephants' shoulder blades, which I think is fascinating. So why don't I look for a baby elephant so long, and rather than you bouncing and jostling through this uneven ground with me, we'll send you over to Taylor.
We're not having too much luck this side, I'm afraid to report. Our lions have disappeared. Now, remember this morning we were in this area and we were watching the naughty little cubs come down the little koppie, as I would call it. They've also gone now. So they were up in here. And I can't see them anymore, but that's not to say that they just haven't moved further into the thicket. It's definitely a possibility. So think what we'll do is we'll try and jump back on a road again. We'll head back that way, and maybe we'll just go a little bit further west and give it a bash down there. Maybe they completely moved out of this area. I can't see anything around here. I even drove along the little Luggers edge, but nobody is stashed in the bushes. So I'm not particularly sure where they've gone. It's a sneaky place up here, but there are some elephants, so we can try and get to the elephants. I just need to get onto the road. Steph and I can have an elephant day. Hey, Maurice. Maurice can also come out because he just oh, hold on, Maurice, you're gonna have to safety belt you down. Okay, for safekeeping, he goes back in the cupboard. Oh, storage spot, that's his storage spot. And hopefully we'll catch these cats. Ah, there we go. That's quite funny. Oh, Alice, you're so hilarious. Alice, who's directing the show today, says, I wonder if Maurice counts as a baby elephant, and does he have a hump? He's a humpless elephant. That doesn't help, does it? So Maurice, Nelly the elephant. No, what? Nelly the... What is that song about the camel having two... Sally the camel... No. I can't even remember. Come on, Alice, I know you know it. Ah, I thought... That's very funny. Alice is not singing it. She said she refuses. She said because of this whole thing, she's going to link away from me now. To save myself embarrassment. Thanks, Alice. Right. Steph has actually managed to find something that he said he was going to find. So let's go across to Steph and the baby elephant.
I cannot believe that Taylor brought her teddy bear with her on drive. Did she really? Is that what I was hearing? That Taylor has her pet teddy bear with her from her bed with her on drive. That's cute. All right. Now to Sheenak's question. Have a look at this young elephant here. There are the shoulder blades, but they are absolutely not as prominent as adults ones, and that's actually fascinating. I didn't actually realize that before. Our question is why? Let's go and have a look at an older elephant and see like exactly what the difference is between the mom elephant or an older elephant, and just see if perhaps it's because it's more of a, you know, it's a larger body mass, and so it becomes more prominent. But if you look at it in terms of a ratio, it's not so bad. I don't know, baby elephant look plumper. Maybe it's because their bodies are not as rangy, perhaps. Maybe with the added weight of the head, it draws their head down lower. Sheenak, you got me there. I'm going to have to look at a few more elephant before I make up my mind as to exactly what that phenomenon is or that observation is. That is a good one. You're right up here with these ellies now. This is a typical family group in the Mara, anywhere between sort of 8 and 12 individuals. Let's count how many are here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 individuals. So 10 elephant in this particular herd. And that means that it's one female and all her offspring. And even though she's got daughters that are of breeding age and they have their own children, they will still stick around until the herd size gets bigger than about 12 to 16 individuals, and then will splinter off. Zora, elephants are so calm is what you say. They actually are. To me, an elephant epitomizes Africa. So if you have a look at Africa, when I think about Africa, or when I dwell on what Africa is to me, I always come down to, it's like an elephant. They can be just as savage and just as deadly. Almost all the rest of the time, they're quite docile and just quite content to just keep to themselves. Don't get them angry. Definitely don't enrage any of them in a group or threaten youngsters. They're just as susceptible to the environment as what most Africans are. Drought, you know, it just, to me, there's just, that Africa is an elephant. You know. World Peace, you want to know if elephants are still being poached? Yes, elephants are definitely still being poached. They're not being poached here. And for other viewers, poached is the illegal hunting of animals for profit. That is poached. And absolutely in Africa, there's still a lot of elephants that are poached. They're generally poached for their teeth, which are the most valuable part of the elephant. The ivory that you're seeing there, those are just two of a bunch of teeth, but all the poachers are really interested in. They will hack those out, and of course ivory has a value. Back in the day, ivory was used for everything from knife handles to piano keys to billiard balls, jewelry. Today it is used in jewelry and isn't traded, and carvings. A lot of carvings are made out of ivory, out of elephant tusks. It's got a beautifully luxurious feel to it. So a piece of polished ivory feels like a buttered piece of silk. It really is a fantastic feeling thing, and I can understand why people were fascinated by it. However, once you see what animal the ivory is attached to, you'd never bring yourself to buy a piece of ivory again for the rest of your life. And I think that, in a nutshell, is why poaching still goes on. Is that it is a luxury item. It is sought after by people who do not understand how beautiful and how tragic an elephant can be, and how majestic an elephant can be, and therefore has no sort of contextual relevance to what they are and why they need to be conserved. CG, you want to know how the sizes of the elephant herds in the Mara compare to those in the Kruger? I think they're exactly the same, to be honest. I see more elephant here, but I was thinking about it the other day. You only see more elephant here because there's so much more open space. I think if you got rid of the trees in the Kruger, you'd see the same amount of elephant. I haven't seen census numbers here on elephant numbers, or how many head of elephant are per hectare here. I would imagine that it's probably around about the same as the Kruger. I get the feeling that there's a lot of elephant here from time to time. You see it, you definitely see a lot of elephant. But that's also because there's no trees here. And it's easy to see elephants in an environment where you can see into tomorrow. Or you can see further than you can drive in a day, which you absolutely cannot do in South Africa. Herd sizes are the same. They'll congregate around food sources the same. What I will say about these elephant, though, is that they do move up and down this escarpment a lot more than I ever expected. It wouldn't be uncommon for these elephant, even with the superabundance of food, to move up to the escarpment and go 30-mile round trip. Hank, you've noticed that these ellies look much thinner than the ones at Juma. That's a good observation, Hank. I must say I agree with you. I also think that these ellies are a little bit more skinny than the Juma elephant. Although it's been a drought here. The wildebeest have just arrived and eaten all the grass. Will that make such a big difference? Have I seen? Yes, I would say. I think there's actually a food shortage here, Hank. There's a lot of grass where we're standing now. The grass, no doubt, grows at an unbelievable rate here. But outside the reserve, the grass literally, you couldn't pick a handful of grass outside, I promise. That's how little grass is outside of this reserve. And I don't think it's enough to sustain these ellies, you know. Good observation, Henk. We're in a drought, and these ellies are skinnier because of it. That's, I think, my point there. And on that point, why don't we go send you over to Taylor, who's got some ellies of her own to show you.
We do. I think this might be our theme of the show today, is elephants. However, Steph, speaking of starving, myself and David are so hungry we're ready to get out the car and go and graze with what little nutrients are left in the grass and devour them. But luckily for us, our chefs David and Simon have looked after us oh so well and have made us bread rolls with all sorts of wonderful things on. And I've taken mine out and I cannot wait to eat it. Sometimes we forget to eat here in the Mara. So you'll have breakfast or brunch, and then sometimes it's just dinner, if you remember to have dinner. That's a little elephant, though, walking amongst the grass. A nice little family group here. Let me count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 elephants. Beautiful. All just moving through. And it seems as though the bigger herds of elephants have separated. I haven't been seeing too many big herds. I think Steph this morning had quite a large group. However, I've been seeing 1 or 2 females together with their offsprings and then the odd bull tailing behind, which is actually quite typical. That's normally what we see in Juma. Only in the winter months do they come together. Now, OD farming, here's a question that's quite tough to answer. And the reason why I say that is because everyone's got different opinions about it. And the question is, do elephants grieve over, well, other elephants that have died us, or their ancestors? So that whole story stems from elephant graveyards. So let's start at elephant graveyards. The way that elephant graveyards develop are basically one elephant or maybe 2 elephants that have become quite old and have fed around the marsh areas or rivers or dams where the vegetation is lush and green and more soft, because remember, their teeth start to wear down. So it's not very often that an elephant will die of old age. Unfortunately, malnutrition is a big killer. So they don't just starve to death. It's a process that takes months and months and months of not being able to ingest the required amount of food every single day. You can imagine an elephant needs to eat 5% of its body weight every single day. So it's a large amount. That gets less and less as they get older and older. So because they move around to these water sources, so let's talk about a river, for example. An elephant eventually will pass on, and then maybe it dies, bones get scattered, some of it go into the river, it washes down, it ends up in a spot where it deposits, or it just ends up on banks of a river and one dam, wherever it may be. And an elephant is a large animal, so they do have a bunch of bones. I'm not exactly sure how many bones an elephant has in its body. Maybe somebody can find that out for me. Hashtag Safari Live, and then we can talk about that. It'd be quite interesting to know. So one elephant can create an entire graveyard. It would look like 30 or 40 zebra had died in that same spot. And if 2 or 3 elephants die in the same spot, you can imagine it starts to look like a graveyard. Elephants are naturally curious creatures. They're exceptionally intelligent, and they normally will walk the same migratory routes every single year, searching for water, searching for greener pastures. And maybe that animal died on one of those migratory routes. So as they go through, they find all these bones. And again, they're very curious. They'll go through, they'll smell, they'll pick them up. And it's a very nice story that the elephants are grieving over their loved ones. But it's not that they're grieving over. I think that they understand that it is an elephant. I think that that's definitely the case. Whether they know that specific individual, I'm not really sure about that, because some elephants will just, travel an area, not pass through there for a year or 2, depending. Sometimes they don't need to move constantly if there's good food and grazing around. So as much as a lovely story it makes, it's an old wives' tale, unfortunately. But it is pretty amazing, though, to see something like that. Isn't that cool? They've all got dirty tusks. They've obviously been having mud baths on this fine hot day. I think everybody's enjoying the water that's around. And actually, they're making their way to a little pan. Well, I think it was a mud wallow. I'm just trying to think if that's where they're going to go to have a drink. Their trunks don't look particularly wet, neither do their feet. So they must have had a mud wallow earlier during the day. So maybe they'll have a nice drink just before the sun goes down. Oh, fantastic. Alice, you have an answer about the elephant bone. So how many bones does an elephant have? Wow. Wow. So, Alex, you said that an elephant can have 326 to 351 bones in their bodies. That's incredible. That's, yes, now you can quite easily see how one elephant could create a graveyard, never mind if 2 elephants pass away in an area like that. So it's quite spectacular just to see where one elephant has died. And I have seen it. In Sabi Sabi, there was an elephant that had died, and it was unbelievable, provided with great sightings with lions and and hyenas and, of course, leopards and all these different animals that were coming through and scavenging on it. But to see the amount of bones that were left behind, it really was unbelievable. I think we'll stick with these ellies for a little bit longer. I'm hoping they're going to go towards that pan, so we'll go wait in that spot. Steph has still got his elephants. I wonder if they've come any closer.
They've definitely come a little bit closer, but not by much. Have a look at the little baby on the right-hand side. He's busy sleeping underneath his mom's legs, just in the shade there. That is uncommon. Take a screenshot, everyone. You've got the baby sleeping. They're not going to stay like that for long. As soon as mom gets too far away, he'll get a bit panicky, and then he'll jump up. Oh, cute. There you go. That was very special to see. You don't often see babies lying down at all. You do see it, but it's not a very common sight to see. And nice to see. And they will sleep. Most elephants sleep at night time, and will sleep for a majority of the night, especially out here where there's all this food. You find that elephant will sleep or will eat for between 12 and 16 hours a day, and for the rest they'll lie down, rest at night time. They've got good eyesight, but not the best eyesight. They don't have eyesight similar to a lion's, for instance. There's a little baby giraffe, and there in the background there's some eland, the largest antelope that we find out here. There's a big mixed herd inside this thicket. You've got zebra, giraffe, ellies, eland. It's lovely. Everywhere we look, something else is coming about. And you can see a lot of these elephants have sort of discolored sand on their bodies, and that is from mud bathing, which they would have done around midday. Philip, you've made an observation about leopard while we're busy looking at these stunted trees. You've asked me, is it because there's no large trees that there's no leopard? In a way, yes, Philip, you're not wrong there. But the grasslands that we have here are natural. There were a few more trees a couple of decades ago. This was a lot more forested, or thickly forested. And fires and wood chopping definitely left their mark on this forest. But I actually think that leopard numbers have never been massive here. And the reason for that is that leopard get heavily controlled by lion and by hyena. And although there are a lot of leopard, I think, on the fringes of this reserve, up on the escarpment in particular, and also in the forests around the Mara River, we've seen leopard from hot air balloons there. We hear monkeys barking all the time. We found leopard tracks there. You don't see these elusive cats, and it's because we are on the plains. It's where it's easiest to drive, and on the plains, of course, you find a lot of lion and a lot of hyena. These open plains, this is where lions are specialists. This is where they are key. This is where their domain, basically. And leopard have no place in a place like this. They get out-competed, and so pushed into environments where we don't have roads, on the Mara River and on the escarpment. And I think for that reason, we don't see a lot of them here. And even the odd leopard that does venture out onto these plains, he's got nowhere to hide. I mean, if he gets caught out here without a tree to climb, hyena would pull him to pieces, and so would a lion pride in no time at all. Oh, it's beautiful here. Patrick, would an elephant chase a giraffe away? Yes, an elephant absolutely would chase a giraffe away. They can be quite mischievous, elephant, particularly youngsters and young bull elephant will quite often chase away an animal, not just a giraffe. They'll chase away zebra, they'll chase away buffalo. Buffalo don't stand for it, neither do rhino. But they definitely do chase things around a little bit. You can quite often see that the low self-esteem that an elephant has sometimes, well, young elephant at least anyway. They're intelligent creatures, let me first say that. And quite often, the same as teenagers, they have self-esteem and low confidence, basically. And you sometimes see them taking that out on animals that they can bully, zebra and giraffe, wildebeest and buffalo, which move out of the way or just look at them, you know, as if, what are you doing? That is fantastic, eh? Fox hat you've asked me how far can an elephant's infrasound travel. Now, for other viewers, before I answer that, Foxhat, for other viewers, elephants are large enough in their body mass to produce ultra-low frequency noise. It's called infrasound. Whales do it, and even some giraffe can produce this infrasound. And it's a very low frequency noise that travels incredibly well through thick bush. Now, they've done some tests in Etosha around waterholes, remote waterholes in this desert environment. And they reckon that infrasound can travel up to 10 kilometers, so over 6 miles. Now, that's significant for a sound that we can't even hear and produced naturally by an elephant. Don't you think that's awesome? So up to 10 miles, and now something else. I don't know, I have no way of validating this fact, but a blue whale can also make infrasound, and as the largest mammal largest mammal on the planet, largest animate mammal ever to walk this earth, and as far as we know, the largest living animated organism on the face of in the universe, they reckon that the infrasound that a blue whale can produce, you can hear across the Pacific Ocean. Now, the sound waves will travel a lot easier in water, of course. And isn't that an interesting fact, that blue whales can make a noise that can be heard across an ocean basin? That's how massive they are. I found that fascinating. Obviously, I have no way of telling you whether that's true or not. I have no way of telling that that's true or not just yet. But for those of you out there with access to lots of information, why don't you see? Elephants can do in open air, in the free air, they can do 10 kilometers. In an open ocean, a blue whale, at many times an elephant can do across an ocean basin. Why don't we go and have a look at this giraffe quickly with the zebra? Isn't that a lovely view? With the clouds in the background, those silvery clouds and the silvery zebra, blue sky, green grass. There we go. Craig is doing a fantastic job of framing up a lovely picture. If the zebra would just cooperate now so that you can get a nice screenshot to keep for today's journal entry, with the silvery clouds and the blue sky, white belly on the giraffe, white skin on the zebra. That is an African sky for you right there. Oh, and then my rain roof coming into shot. Sorry, Craig. Should be closer to these zebra. Aren't these just fantastic animals? So much speculation as to why they have stripes. All of the wild horses have a stripe of some sort or another. There's no wild horse on the globe, and there are lots of populations of wild horses around, all different sorts. Have no stripes. They all have stripes. But the zebra has got this absolutely contrasting black and white. And there's a lot of different theories. The Maasai in this area have an interesting theory, and that the tsetse fly, which is a biting fly here of ferocious reputation, don't like sitting on very boldly contrasting colors. I find that difficult to believe because in Botswana they've controlled tsetse flies using a black and a blue banded cloth that has been treated with a type of poison. However, you never see a tsetse fly on a zebra. So either the tsetse flies can see in color and don't like black and white, or, you know, there's something else to this whole story that we're not seeing. Another quite interesting theory that I heard was the fact that there's more blood vessels underneath the darker stripes than there are under the white stripes for whatever reason. And using a heat gradient, heat from the black goes into the white stripes and then is radiated off the body, and it's a way to keep zebra cool. And you do see it out here. You see zebra standing in the middle of the sun when no other animals will be standing in the sun. Zebra will be standing in the full heat of the day. They don't care at all. Isn't that interesting? Another unique thing about zebra stripes is that they're all unique. These are the plain zebra, and every one of these zebra have a different stripe pattern, similar to how you have a different fingerprint pattern on your finger. And even more amazing than that is that in a herd of hundreds, a mom and a baby will recognize each other's stripe pattern, not call, stripe pattern. And they'll be able to find each other in a throng of thousands. I must say, my favorite part on a zebra is the head, and that chevron on the forehead. Well, this one is now not cooperating. And then the cheek. For some reason, I love the stripes on the cheek of a zebra. They're just patterned nicely. Let's see if the zebra will gift us with a view of that lovely forehead of theirs, their eye. Don't you think they have the most beautiful face? And that's a giraffe sailing through our shot. Quite nice, eh? Laurie, you want to know if we have horseflies or deer flies out here? Absolutely, there's horseflies out here. But there's that chevron pattern on the forehead while I talk to Laurie's question. We have something even more fearsome out here, and that's the tsetse fly, which I suppose is a type of horsefly. It's a blood-sucking fly, if that's what you mean by horseflies. And it's got the most painful stinger, and it gives over a disease called sleeping sickness, which is deadly to domestic cattle and produces a lethargy in humans that is quite unnatural, and in some extreme cases can result in death, but usually not. But yeah, you do find biting flies out here. There are numerous of them. Luckily and thankfully, the Mara Triangle, for some reason that is unbeknown to me at this point, doesn't have any tsetse flies whatsoever. Even though as little as 10 miles from here, they occur in swarms that will suck a human body dry, or what feels like they're trying to suck you dry anyway, in a couple of seconds, and plague you to a point where you really don't know what else to do. Alrighty, we're creating quite a substantial traffic jam behind us, and I think I'm going to have to move off the road. And so while I do that, why don't we send you over to Taylor, who is with some buffalo from what I hear.
Look at Steph, you showstopper, you. We've got something else that stops traffic, and that is a massive herd of buffalo. But they all seem to be settling down for the night quite early. Hey, now. You've still got an hour at least until sunset. I can't believe that they're just sitting down like this. Or maybe they're just taking a break. Perhaps they've had a long day of grazing. Maybe the lions chased them around and they're now exhausted. That could have also happened. Though I don't know if this is the same herd that we saw this morning, because there was another herd that we drove sort of through, and I thought perhaps that could have been them. But here they are. They're not doing too much. They're just staring at us as if we owe them money. David, have you paid everybody? Or are you in debt? Because if the big buffalo bull comes over here, he might want to sort you out. Now, Martin from the Netherlands, you're wondering if buffalo are dangerous when you pass them, or they're unpredictable. In the cars, not so much. It's okay. Although one trotted after us yesterday morning. It was actually quite funny. I laughed and very dramatically shouted, "Oh, we're being charged!" But it wasn't anything serious. I think it was just a feisty cow. No, in the cars, it's okay, except when I drive with David, because I seem to have all my near-death experiences with David, like the time I was trying to warn James and Herbie. I think Jean-Andre was on camera about the female buffalo with a broken leg. You may remember that, and told them not to come walking here. And as I was doing that, David shouted, "She's charging!" And she came running at quite a speed towards the car, but we were a distance away from her. I was still shocked that she came back to us. She obviously just felt threatened, and I didn't mean to make her feel threatened. I was just trying to warn everybody about how dangerous she could be. So,
What about the tent?
oh yes, and then the tent, yeah. I've outrun a buffalo. I don't think many people can say that. And by putting James and David's life at risk. So that was quite an experience. But it was okay. So no, typically they're okay. They're right. They just sort of stare at you like what they're doing now. They watch us, but they don't seem to mind us at all. Look at that little calf there. But if I were to get out and go towards that little calf that we're staring at, Mom and the rest of the herd and do something like that, rather just watch them from the car. So Chantal, who is D2, I think, today, in one of the directors, she says that this buffalo already looks angry. I think they're born that way. No, not maybe it's maybe she's born with it. I reckon that's exactly what's happened with these buffalo, is that they're just born with a very grumpy look about them. Especially that car. Look at her. She's sort of sussing us out, going, "Don't you come near me." And there's a few oxpeckers and things flying around too. It seems like the midges are bothering the animals today. Oh, those are wattled starlings that were actually flying. Let's see where they're going to land. Oh, there, they've landed on that buffalo over there. This is what amazes me. And I don't know why the birds in the Sabi sand don't do it. Oh, there we go. We've got oxpeckers and we've got wattled starlings. That's a nice combination. Those are yellow-billed oxpeckers too, not the red-billed oxpeckers. I actually haven't seen any red-billed oxpeckers yet. So why don't the birds in the Sabi sand sit on the buffalo like the wattled starlings do? And I've also seen lilac-breasted rollers sitting on a buffalo's back. I just find that quite amazing that they don't behave the same. Isn't that incredible? And that's why we always tell you that when we sort of give you facts about the various animals and their behavior, it's area dependent. Now, Mr. Hummel, who's a new viewer, welcome, welcome, welcome. Very happy to have you, and I look forward to some more questions from you. So your first question today, drum roll, please. Sorry, I'll stop being silly. I've got too much energy. Is how long do buffalo live in the wild? Well, that depends on how long they can escape the claws of a lion or the jaws of a crocodile. But I would say anywhere between 25, 30 years old, maybe even a little bit longer, but I highly doubt that a lot of these buffalo ever get to their old age. They become weak, they start to hang at the back of the herd, or if not fall behind completely and end up on their own, and then become a very easy target, not only for lions, but also large clans of hyena will take them down. Never underestimate the clans of hyena, especially out here where they are enormous. Look at Scott's clan that he had this morning. He counted 20. That's spectacular. I mean, that's amazing. And they're still watching us. I wonder if they're saying, there's probably a buffalo in there that's 55 years old that said, "You talk absolute nonsense, Taylor." That one's got a beautiful splay of horns. What a beautiful girl. Buffaloes here are definitely larger. Now, sorry, Alice, I'm not quite sure what you said Steph is looking for, but it doesn't matter. Steph is so entertaining. Shall we ask Steph to tell you a joke about elephants?
Tell you a joke about elephants, Taylor. I mean, Taylor's got the remarkable quality of setting me up for failure here. I don't know any elephant jokes, unfortunately. I hardly know any jokes at all. Let's go to the left-hand cow. She is enormous for a cow, not in terms of body so much, but her tusks. And this is what I remark on from time to time, is the symmetry and the length of tusks of female elephant in the Mara is considerable. We do not see the similar length of tusks in elephant in Juma, and I haven't in any reserve in Africa I've ever visited. I've never seen tusks as long as what they are. And of course this female has heard what I'm talking about and is now shy about her buck teeth and has decided to face away. Yes, it's okay, sweetheart. I'm not mocking you about your teeth. I'm paying homage to how beautiful your teeth are. Let me see if I can reverse a little bit. I think it might make it a little bit easier for us to see her tusks. I'm just going to go backwards a bit so that we can see it even better. And now she turns her head. What a joke. Come now, Mom, what are you doing? Go forward a little bit, so backwards and forwards and backwards and forwards. Wow, we've got a big lion in front of us. So we'll come back to the elephant. There's a lion! That's amazing. It's always nice when you see and find something that you never expected. So we expected to see these lions in this particular area, but I didn't expect to see them right now. And that's pretty cool. Look how close he is to that car. Let's just park right here. He is beautiful. Look at that scarred face that he's got. Now, I did hear an interesting story about these lions today. He's being plagued by some flies, which is why he's got his head in the floor. And every now and again he shakes his head. Oh, take some screenshots of him. He's a beautiful male. Now, he's what we'd call a blonde male lion. He's got a lot of black hairs, but he doesn't have massive amounts of black hairs just yet. And that's because you get brunette male lions, you get blonde male lions, you even get bald male lions like me. And he'll get up now in a little bit. I think these flies are going to bother him too much. There's obviously some flies that have followed him from one place to another. And he's now flopped down. But I think he's going to get up. I don't think he's going to wait there. Now, this is the male, I think, that was mating with the female that we saw this morning. I have, in the interim, found out that this is the Angama pride. They're just not all together, and that they don't do very well. And they don't do very well because of these male lions. These male lions are not brave. They put up a good fight, but there's a coalition of male lions on the other side of the Mara River that swim across the river and kill all the Angama pride babies from time to time. So they wait for them to get big. The Angama pride can go up to 40 individuals. Can you believe that? And then almost always lose all their cubs to canism, is the term that they use. When a male lion kills sibling or kills babies. Actually, excuse me, that is the wrong word. Canism is what eagle chicks do. Excuse me, it's called infanticide. So canism and siblicide are the same thing. I'll talk about that in a bit, so please delete previous statement and replace with infanticide. And that is what a male lion does to force females back into estrus so that they can cover the female and their genes get spread into the bush or into the pride. And the reason for that is that male lions will hold a territory for a very short space of time. A year, 2 years, not much longer than that. And they really can't wait for a female to bring up the previous lion's cubs for 2 years and then decide when to go into estrus. They might never get a chance to mate with that female. So they kill the cubs. Every cub less than a year old they will kill. That then forces the females to come into estrus, and then they get to cover the females and bring their genes into the pride. Now it can be disastrous for female lions. And especially if lions are old in the pride and they don't have time to bring up the cubs, and you can find entire prides being ruined. Now, I'm told that there's a few of you out here that think that this male lion is very handsome. I also thought that he was quite good looking. He had that nice long body. I quite enjoy a stocky lion that's got a long body rather than a tall, rangy lion that always looks malnourished. You get all different types of shapes and sizes in these lions. These lions in the Mara are particularly good looking for me. As I said, I like a barreled body that is long like a limousine. A grand touring car rather than a short stubby sports car or a nice tall 4x4 off-ranger or off-roader. But that's just my personal preference. The lions in the Kruger National Park tend to be stubby things. Aisha, you've noticed on a lion cub that you've seen before that they have spots, and I'm sure I started on it this morning and then got completely sidetracked by something else. But that the lioness that we were looking at, I wanted to know how old she was, and I was looking at spots on her legs and her belly to determine age. Lions will lose the spots on their bellies and their legs from about 2.5 to 3 years of age. James uses the pink nose, black nose theory, which states that a black-nosed lion is older than 2.5 years and a pink-nosed lion is younger than 2.5, 3 years old. I find it a bit easier for me to just use the spots. So Aisha, to answer your question, the lions with no spots on their legs and their bellies, or no prominent spots on their legs and their bellies, are usually a bit older than 2.5 years old, 2.5 to 3 years old. Whereas spots on their bellies and their legs, in particular their back legs, are for lions that are younger than that. This male lion is not cooperating, and the flies that are bothering him are not plaguing him enough. Now have a look in the background there, something interesting. You'll notice that the trees from about halfway down are dead. And there's a very distinct line. That is called a browse line. And that browse line is there for giraffe. Now, it's probably a little bit tight, but it gives us a good idea as to what trees are there. That browse line is from giraffe. But while the trees are not going anywhere, Taylor's bird definitely is. So off you go and have a look at that before it flies away.
Oh, it just flew away. But there's one more to the right, to the right. There it is. It's a grey-backed fiscal. Isn't that cool? We've been seeing them a lot of them around at the moment. They are lovely birds. I haven't really had too much time to sit and watch them. Looks like this one's a little bit on the warm side. You can see how it's got its beak agape. And that's how they like to cool themselves down. They don't sweat like you and I sweat. And are you going to make it? I'm just trying to listen to see if I thought it was calling. Looks like it wants to. They don't have a very pretty call, unfortunately. I think their feathers or their lovely plumage makes up for it. And now what I'm trying to also do is I have a picture that I want to show you, but I'm trying to find it. Where is it? I've taken way too many pictures, David. So many pictures. It's a bird I don't think that any of you have seen yet. I'm coming to it because it was the lions and the elephants and the giraffe, and then after the giraffe... Okay, I'm going to show you now. Okay, I need to zoom in just a little bit. Now, I hope there's no glare. Please don't be glare. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? I have zoomed in a little bit. We saw it yesterday morning, and I wasn't sure as to what it was, but it's an African blue flycatcher. Isn't that remarkable? And I apologize, my hand is not as steady as David's camera work. That's me trying to hold my camera up. But what a nice bird to find. I looked at it, and I wasn't entirely sure what I was looking at. I said it looked like a flycatcher crossed with, I can't remember what else I said. I think I may have said a fiscal because of the black stripe that had on the eye, but a beautiful bird. And what we will do is when we go past that area, actually quite close to the concrete bridge that Steph was telling you about, that is where it likes to hang around in the forested areas, just like most of course, the flycatchers. Beautiful. Right, we'll keep searching for some lions. We're going to go back and check again for the sausage tree pride. I'm sure they're around. Steph is still with his lovely lion, and I don't think he's going anywhere.
No, you're quite right. I'm not going to be going anywhere. I am being plagued by the fly that was plaguing this lion, though. And as you'd know, if you've been watching me a little bit, I hate flies. I can't stand something that sits on another thing's feces and then comes and lands on my lip. It's just not what I like doing. I see this lion. Him and I feel the same thing. We have a connection in that, at least. One of the few things. Let's see what he does. Now, it's uncommon for a lion to be lying out in the open like he is. I think he's actually been lying in the shade somewhere, probably. This is very close to where we saw him this morning. In actual fact, the exact same spot as we saw him yesterday. He has now left his lady. She was quite obviously out of estrus, and he then has no more need to be in attendance with her. She goes back to her sisters, thankfully, I think, for the ordeal being over. And he carries on with his job, which is patrolling the area he's claimed for himself. Now, it's important to know that there's two distinctions in lion territorial behavior. Female lions look after a territory that they inherit from their mothers and their aunties, and pass on to their female cubs. They look after that territory, they do not move, and when a lion pride dies or gets killed in an area, it's catastrophic because of the genes that are carried in that lion pride. Male lions are responsible for seeding the gene pool with diversity, and their job is to, completely different, hack out a piece of territory amongst other male lions and hope that within that territory are female lions. So the strongest lions have the best territories with the most females in. But they are not the head of the family. They will dominate the lionesses, obviously, they're bigger, and they will dominate kills, and they will cover the lionesses, and they will father the cubs, and to a degree they even show affection to the cubs, etc., which leads to the perception that male lion are the daddy figures. But it is in actual fact the female lioness which are the hereditary owners of this particular area. So where we are right now, you have two different things going on. You have these two male lions which have hacked out their piece of the Mara Triangle, within which lives the Angama Pride. The Angama Pride of females live in this area and will defend this area with their lives and will live here their entire lives. They will not move. Whereas these males, who knows where they came from? They're nomadic for about 2.5, 3 years, and because they are smaller than other male lions, they move and get kicked out from territory to territory to territory. Mother Nature's way, obviously, of making sure that by the time they've had enough of being kicked out of territories and decide to hack out their own piece of territory, that they're far enough away from their natal pride that they don't interbreed with their own gene pool. Robin, you've asked the question I think has been burning in the back of everybody's mind. Will this male now look for another female and immediately begin mating? Robin, I don't actually know how to answer that question. Physiologically, yes. If another female was in estrus and he happened upon her, he would absolutely and without question cover that female for the next week, to the detriment of his own health, actually. Because they almost become single-mindedly obsessed with making sure that they cover that female. Would this male do that in reality, though? Probably not. The reality is that he probably needs a bit of food. He hasn't eaten much in the last couple of days. The reality is that he probably is compelled to patrol the borders of his territory because he hasn't been roaring. He doesn't want to announce the presence of a female. So male lions that are mating with females hardly ever do anything. They don't scent mark, they don't roar, they do nothing. So he's probably feeling a compulsion to want to re-establish the boundaries of his territory, which would be infringed upon without his presence being heard. And in that nomadic sort of wandering around the borders, would he come into contact with females? Yeah, he would. That's a good question. And is it possible? Yes. Is it feasible? Probably not. But a good question nonetheless. Time will tell. The nice thing about what we do is that we follow these cats around so much of the day, and day in and day out, year in and year out, that there'll be very little, actually I lie, there'll be a lot of behavior that we miss, even though we're spending so much time with these animals. Male lions will lie in the same place. You'll get there in the morning, you think he's done exactly the same thing, and he's walked 30 miles that night doing a patrol. From our camp on top of the Ulilolo escarpment, we hear lions so frequently, male lions roaring really close to camp. And I got a feeling that either there's nomadic male lions that live on the fringes of the reserve we're not seeing, or these male lions go to the fringes of the reserve and roar their challenge out there into the wilderness on a very frequent basis. All right, now we are going to go across to something that is as rare as a male lion, but has feathers instead of fur.
That was a great description of the southern ground hornbill. Something that I was trying to do now is I was trying to search on the interweb as to how many southern ground hornbills there are in the Mara Triangle. Now, obviously we know how difficult game counts can be. Now trying to do something that can fly must be particularly difficult. In South Africa, I think it's a little bit easier. There seems to be a lot of research that's done on these birds, a lot of them in the Kruger National Park. Actually, most of the southern ground hornbills I've seen in the Kruger National Park are actually tagged. They have a little collar around their legs, but I haven't seen that here in Kenya just yet. So I wonder if there are any research teams that are studying them. They seem to be doing very, very well. I've almost seen southern ground hornbills every single day since I've been here, barring 1 or 2 days. Oh, goodness, Dave, what's she doing? Using the camera stand as a jungle gym. David is now standing up and filming. He really, really gets into the action. So we're surrounded by zebra still. We're actually coming back to the spot where we had the sausage tree pride. I don't know where they've gone, but I can't imagine that they would have gone far. Unless they were chased by something, which I suppose is a possibility. Oh, we have to go here. That way we're going to get stuck. So I just might get stuck here too. Have we only got 3 wheels on the ground? Feels like it. through this big gap. The road has eroded quite a bit from all of the rain, and then all the cars coming through. This black cotton soil does not fare well with vehicles and it being moist, and everyone's sort of sunk in and created these massive rivets now. Rivets so big that I only had 3 wheels on the ground. 1 wheel was off the ground. It was that steep, but don't worry, we made it. So I think we're going to head to the hills again and try our best. Now, Mr. P, you're wondering if there's a gate or fence around the Mara to stop the animals from entering the city. And no, there's no particular fence here. There aren't boom gates to let vehicles in and out, but that's just to stop people who haven't paid the conservation levies from going in to the park, because obviously that's how national parks make their money, is they charge an entrance fee, which then goes to many different things, for anti-poaching teams, to veterinary services, to upgrading roads, and well, you list is endless really as to where all that money goes, and of course into communities. So there isn't one. I'm just trying to think, when I drove all the way from Nairobi through Narok and came through here, I didn't see one fence. I did not go through one fence. There was some on either sides of the roads, but not any big game fences like you would see around South Africa, where you have the 3-meter high fences with 9,000 volts electric strands going through it. Nothing of that sort. So it's amazing. Everything seems to be free here. The animals can move and go wherever they need to. But as you can imagine, this can cause some problems, because if you have a herd of elephants, say, I don't know, say there was a drought here for however many years and there was no food, the animals are not going to hang around here. They're going to move to where there is food. Then they go, and we'll go to the farm areas, and we have these same types of problems in South Africa as well. And I mean, if you drive into areas like Botswana, some bits of Zambia, even in Zimbabwe, you'll hit roads where there will just be, you'll just drive past a herd of elephants on the side of a tarred road. You know, that's just how it is. So it's pretty cool that they have got free reign to move wherever they want to. And it's obviously it's hard in South Africa. We've taken the stand where we've tried to fence in and protect the animals, but then of course this stops their migratory movements. Now, something that Tristan loves to do, and that is track, and he's very good at it. Now, a question from Cindy, and that is basically, is it easier to track on the Mara than it is in Juma? Well, I haven't done 1 ounce of tracking since I've been here. I have stopped to look at footprints on the ground, but tracking animals here is not really necessary, because you can see as well for kilometers and kilometers in the distance. So, trusty pair of binoculars, and after spotting 355 million termite mounds, and you realize, right, what a lion's head looks like above the grass, then you'll stop and you'll have a look. And that's sort of how we do it. But I will say though that every now and then, if I'm not sure where a lion's gone and there's a nice sandy spot or a muddy area, I do check. I just have a quick look down on the ground, because that could help me, just point me in the right direction. You're not going to track a lion over all this grass, nothing at all. But you can still see their tracks. The best ones though, after the rain, are the hippo footprints on the ground from, well, all of them coming out to graze and then heading back in the morning and using the same paths over and over again. They're quite nice to see. So maybe when we head down towards the river at some point, maybe tomorrow morning, I'll actually show you, because there's some really cool tracks pushed quite deep in the ground, hippo tracks, but it is really nice to see. So I'm just thinking, if I was a lion and I wasn't chased, I'd probably still be on top of that little hill, because it is lovely and cool, and there's a good vantage point you can see over the distance. Right, before Steph's bird flies away, let's go watch it. It's being attacked.
So we absolutely got some epic behavior here between a tawny eagle and a spur-winged lapwing. The spur-winged lapwing is performing a mobbing behavior on the tawny eagle, and you can see that it's having a dramatic effect on the bird. The tawny eagle's not enjoying being pecked on the head every time the bird passes, and is opening up its beak. Now, although the eagle's got a properly sharp beak, its actual defense weapons are its feet. So until you see the eagle fly off and utilize its talons and its legs, it's sort of going to try and just weather the storm until the lapwing runs out of energy, which might be a considerable amount, because now we've got both parents coming in. So Obviously, there's a nest of these lapwings. Tawny eagles are well known for taking fledglings out of the nest. These are ground nesting birds, and so for the eagle to actually catch one of these little birds that can't fly, and if the eagle sees it, can't really hide, is an easy thing, and hence the parents putting up this very brave behavior here. You can see the tawny eagle getting a little bit. Is it a tawny eagle? I'm just going to double check that it is actually a tawny eagle. I made my assumption based on the fact, or my identifying feature based on the fact that its legs are feathered all the way to the feet. So that makes it a true eagle, for one. Secondly, it hasn't got a white sear across the nose, which would make it a Wahlberg's eagle. It's fairly large. And if I have a look at the gape, so in other words, how wide the mouth opens, the gape extends past the middle of the eye to the back of the eyeball, and that makes it a tawny eagle rather than the exactly the same size and colored steppe eagle, whose gape extends only to the middle of the eye. Quite happy that that is a tawny eagle, at least anyway to my identifying features. Now Langston, you've just asked if it's common for eagles and birds to fight. No, not to fight. Definitely eagles are bigger and they are more robust and they have deadlier weapons than most other birds, but it is common for other birds to mob eagles. So not fighting so much as harassing. You will find the same behavior amongst little birds and other birds of prey. Owls, small other raptors, goshawks and sparrowhawks get mobbed by birds quite often. So not fighting as such as there's a contest of size and weaponry, so much as just harassment. We've also got another bird here, the hammerkop, which is a type of stork, is lying here just in the tree here. It's also quite rare to see these birds perched in a branch, and that is a rare shot. So for those of you who are into unusual pictures from Safari Live, definitely take a picture of your hammerkop bird roosting in a tree. It's very few and far between that you'll actually see that. It is lovely though. Right, I think we need to reposition so we can see our lion before the sun goes down. So let me just put the car into a different place so that I can show you some more of what we actually came to spend our afternoon in the blazing sun for. Amidst the cloud of diesel fumes, which is slowly but surely making me infertile, I'm sure. Now there you go. This will probably give us one of the better views if he sticks his head up. If he doesn't stick his head up, it's going to be a superb demonstration of how similar a lion's fur color is to the grass that they hunt in. And of course there goes down the line of the how invisible a lion would be in this grassland at night time in the dark. All right, now we'll wait for this lion to wake up. In the meantime, why don't we send you over to Taylor, who's managed to find the object of her investigation today.
Steph, let me tell you, they are so sneaky. So sneaky. Thank goodness for Richard, our Askari, this afternoon. He kindly helped us find them. I think they did a bit of shuffling around and thus revealing at least one of the lionesses. Now we've come down into this little gully system and we've got one of the cubs to find that they ended up catching something. I don't know when they could have done it. It looks like this young cub, it looks like it's chewing the leg of a buffalo calf. So we know that one calf is not going to be very much for two adult lionesses, and for youngsters it'll pretty much just be one decent meal. And they could have done that quite recently too. Maybe they only did it an hour ago or so, because when I saw them they went fast asleep. And it also looked like the buffalo were perhaps going to sit down. So maybe once the buffalo got up from their midday nap, and the buffalo tend to have naps quite often around here, well, in South Africa too. There you go. You can see it was a little buffalo leg. I know it's not a wildebeest because there haven't been any wildebeest around here whatsoever. Not even one that's confused and hanging around with a zebra. So it can only mean that it is a buffalo. And so I'm very happy. I'm sad that we missed it though. But again, you know, with lions, you never know when they're going to hunt. I think cheetah are a little bit more predictable. It got exceptionally hot, but again, that doesn't mean that they're not going to hunt at all. But very cool. I'm very happy. They were looking a little bit hungry. The lionesses definitely deserved that meal, and I think even more excited than the lionesses are these youngsters. And I can hear them gobbling up just to the left of me. Maybe, I don't think you'll be able to hear the crunching. Is it a bit soft, hey, David? Darby can't hear it through his headphones, which means you won't be able to hear it. But every now and then I can hear it crunch, and I think that they're obviously squabbling over the carcass because this youngsters have managed to grab a leg and run away with it. It's not having anything to do with any of its siblings or its mom and aunt. It decided it's quite happy to just stay down here, hidden away amongst all this lovely grass. It's nice and cool here too, sheltered from the wind. So beautiful. So, Kathy, you've said that you went, look at all the little spots. So you've noticed all the spots. Now, I think I can, oh no, I can hear some people, but it's not the people that I'm looking for. So spots are very important for animals, for camouflage, especially when you're a young lion. It helps blend in when you're left alone while mom goes out and hunts. So that's just one of the reasons why they have it. And they typically lose it as they get older. However, we've spoken about this quite a few times where I've said that I have seen adult lionesses that are fairly old, where you can see the spots still prominently on their body. So they don't always disappear. But how great is that? And what I will try and do is I will try and venture up onto this little island that the lions have marooned themselves on and try and get a view of the rest of the pride. I just need to figure out how exactly I am going to do that. But for now, we'll just have to wait here because that will take some serious maneuvering. And I might be a little bit embarrassed that you will watch me do that. But we'll do that in a little while. Isn't this great, though? Now, sausage tree pride, you pesky lions, you've evaded a kill. Well, evaded... What am I even trying to say? I wasn't able to see it happen. When am I going to see the sausage tree pride successfully make a kill? One day. Perhaps they're going to keep me on my toes for the entire stint that I do in the Mara. You don't look like you could really fit too much in your belly. Look at those dirty elbows and paws. So obviously been diving into the carcass. Perhaps it doesn't quite look like blood. That looks like maybe more stomach content that it has got on its body. And they're very messy, these youngsters. And because it was so small, it would have been really fascinating to see them all fight over it. Gobbling every little bit up. Now, speaking about food and there not being too much around for these lions, Sinek, you're wondering if lions will ever sort of store their food, so caching it. Now, we know that leopards are notorious for doing this. Crocodiles seem to do a similar thing, but I reckon it's maybe for other reasons, not just saving it for later. Obviously, they struggle quite a bit when it comes to tearing flesh off. They have to do the death roll, and sometimes that doesn't always work. But once your flesh is rotting, it tends to fall off the bone quite easily. Sorry, that's quite macabre, but it's the truth. And with lions, I think it's a little bit different. They want to eat their food as quickly as possible. So I haven't seen lions caching food like leopards will in trees, where they'll, kill an inyala here, put it up a tree, and then they go for a drink, and there's another opportunity. They catch an impala, they'll put it up a tree and then feed on that one later. So I've never seen lions doing that before. But what I have seen lions doing is getting up from a kill and going to kill something else, and then having an abundance of food around to feed on. Obviously, if you've got a big pride of lions, not many animals are going to come through and try and mess with you unless it's a bigger pride of lions or a massive clan of hyenas. Everyone will sort of stay away. But when you're just two lionesses with 4 cubs, I actually don't think you want to have too much food around you, because you really just become sitting ducks then. You'll get the vultures coming through, hanging about. The hyenas will become a pain and also start hanging about. So sometimes it's quite nice to just eat as much as you can, and then move on. Sort of like cheetah. I think it's very similar to cheetah. Cheetah, they don't really want to be sitting on a carcass for too long, because the amount of things that will come through and chase them off, and then they miss out on a meal, or potentially, end up getting hurt because they're trying to defend themselves, or they're not paying attention and they are surprised. So if I were a cheetah, or if I was a lioness on my own and not living in a big pride, I'd probably just try and catch small things, just enough for everybody to get a decent meal, to feed on it for a couple of hours or a day, but nothing too massive, because I think trying to ward off other predators in the area could potentially put their lives at risk. Right, seen as though death has now fallen upon us, Steph has found himself a zebra carcass.
I have definitely found myself a zebra carcass, and for those who were watching this morning, this is the same zebra carcass that we saw covered in vultures when last we were here. There was a lot of meat at that point, and you can see how effectively the cleanup crew out here is. This is even before hyena have now come up upon this carcass and will splinter the bones with their strong jaws to get to the marrow that is lying in the bones. But from a rotting meat point of view, there's not much left on that carcass. The vultures have gleaned it clean of even the smallest little scrap. Now beetles and other insects will come and clean it up. And between rain and sun and hyena and what else carries bones around? I'm trying to think. Rain, sun, hyena, wind, I suppose, at most extreme levels. This carcass will slowly dismember itself and will then disappear into the grass over the next couple of years as bleached white bones that do not harbor many bacteria and therefore are not able to make the environment sick. Too many carcasses, at least to overwhelm these cleanup crews and the insects and the scavengers, other scavengers, and you have a problem with disease. And so Alice just tells me that a lot of you are commenting in the moment how amazing it is that these vultures have managed to pick clean this carcass. It is amazing, actually. I think the most remarkable thing that I've ever seen vultures do was a rhino died a couple of years ago. I'm talking about 10 or 15 years ago now. And what happened was, between game drives, I still was quite excited. I thought that we were going to see a lot of lions and leopard and hyena feeding and fighting over this rhino carcass. And it was big, 5,000 pound. It was a massive rhino carcass. And vultures picked a rhino carcass clean to a scrap in between game drives. So between 10 o'clock in the morning and 4 o'clock in the afternoon, vultures consumed 5,000 pounds, well, minus the bones. So let's take it down to 3,500 pounds of meat and skin and sinew and intestines and liver and everything else. Did it in 6 hours. Isn't that incredible? And so one little skinny zebra, although the zebra wasn't skinny, it was a full-grown zebra that we saw it last night. It has been reduced to a bony pile. David, you've commented on the fact that you've heard or seen giraffe that have eaten bones, and you want to know if it's true. It's absolutely true, and it's not only just giraffe. Kudu do it, wildebeest do it, all herbivores do it. They do it for potassium and calcium deficiencies, and it's got a name called osteophagy, or the eating of bones. It's just that it's quite comical to watch giraffe do it. A, you can see what they're eating because they're miles up in the sky, and you can see them chewing through bones in their mouth. And B, their mouths do not open very wide, and so to get this bone to their teeth, they quite often pull the most unbelievably weird faces, and will stand and manipulate the bone in their mouths, and will eventually get this bone to a point where they can chew it and grind off with their teeth shavings of bone to give themselves it's a vitamin tablet, basically. So osteophagy. You also get animals that eat the ground and eat different clay deposits. Kaolin clay is common for breaking down toxic compounds in plants that animals eat, and that's called geophagy. What other phagy do you get? I'm trying to think now. There's probably a few more, but right now I can't think of any at all. Here, right where their friend has just managed to die, we've got some zebra coming up. Let me see if I can move the car a little bit so that we can get you a nice shot of them. And now we've got zebra, and I think this is how this zebra was killed. This pathway that these zebra are walking on is a game path, probably created by hippo initially, but used by these animals to go from one marsh here to another one. And I think these lions know it, and I think that they sit in these bushes. You saw where this zebra was. I think they sit in these bushes and ambush these animals as they come through this thicket, probably mostly at night time. But it's quite common for lions to hunt during the day, although quite dangerous. The lions are big enough that they build up enough heat in their bodies to actually kill them fairly quickly if they're not careful about how they raise their core body temperature. And sprinting after a fast zebra is, in the middle of the day at least anyway, when you're weighing 500 pounds, is a very quick way of overheating yourself to a point where your body will go into heat shock and not be able to cool itself down anymore, and boom, dead it is. I've never seen a dead lion from heat exhaustion or heat shock, heat stroke, but definitely they take care to keep their core body temperatures down. I love the faces of those zebra. Isn't that just beautiful? Anyway, on that note, why don't we send you over to go and see what Taylor's lions are up to.
They're sleeping there in the grass. We found one lioness again, and I've just seen the other one, David, while we still have a chance, because I finally figured out where they are. Richard could see them, David and I were a bit confused as to where they are. So there we go, there's a tail. Thank you, lions, for being so accommodating. But they're tucked away over there, munching on what's left of the buffalo. There's a whole lot of them. Maybe they're finished. I think they could be finished because there's quite a bit of movement now. And there's water right here. It's actually the perfect island to sit yourself on. I think if I was a lion, I'd probably also hang around here. Maybe we're going to be lucky enough and they're going to come towards us. But look at it. Beautiful lion, lovely green grass. You can still see what's around you, and then all this water. So there's no need to go too far. And it was something that I was wondering about, was actually where would a lion go and drink if they just had a meal and they weren't near water. But luckily we've had all this rain, so all these little mud wallows have now filled up quite nicely. Oh, thank you, girl, so obliging. She's now going to clean her paws right in front of us, and you can see there's still quite a bit of blood on her paws. That's why I don't think that they did this too long ago. Maybe an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours ago. Oh, there's a hammerkop coming in. Sure, that was close. Yeah, it's just flown in there. That hammerkop just about landed on the lion's head. I can't believe she didn't pay too much attention to it. So it's just landed there. This is obviously its little pan that it lives at. Oh, very nice. Another bird to add to the list, or add to my list. I think I have it. I was actually working on my bird list. Oh, sorry. Sorry, David. I wasn't bending. But at least this lioness is now sat up and is grooming herself. You see, they don't look very full. Look, her belly is not bursting at the seam. The young cubs definitely were. And this is not the first time that I've actually seen this. It's like the lioness are giving up more of their meal to the little ones. They're very good mothers, these two. They always make sure that their cubs are looked after 150%. They don't waste any time in when it comes to hunting. If those little ones come out and do what they're not supposed to, we've seen them give up and turn around and go back to them, which I think is quite amazing. She's quickly removing all that blood, and what she'll probably do is wipe her face with her paws as well. Now she's licking her paws. I wish you could hear the sound. No, we're not close enough. I can a little bit hear it when she licks her paws. That tongue is so rough. You can actually almost see the little papillae, or the little barb. They're almost actually like little barbs that are on their tongue to help groom themselves. Now, Robin, you were wondering if they have any enzymes in their saliva to help with healing wounds. I wouldn't imagine so. I haven't read anything specific. They might do. I think it's just important when you have a wound just to keep it clean constantly and to try and keep the flies out of it. Although myiasis is not too much of a bad thing, so there's many types of myiasis, but the one that we've been fortunate enough to see at the expense of Mfumo, one of the Birmingham boys, is where the myiasis happened to be larvae of probably a botfly or either a screwworm fly, I think, something like that. I can't remember everything now. But one of them, and then they eat the live flesh rather than feasting on dead flesh, or a bit of both. I think she's going to go and have a drink. So as long as they lick it and keep it nice and clean, that's fine. Good girl. Oh my goodness, you're coming right to the car. Look at that. Just keeping an eye on us, but not particularly bothered by us at all. She's showing us a nice way out. Thank you, girl. Where are you off to now? I thought she was going to go and have a drink first, but here we go. Look at her. She's not very full, so they could still hunt again tonight. Or at least early tomorrow morning. They're going to go after something, because that's not going to keep them full for too long. But just the perfect power snack, just to keep them going again, because they did look a little bit disheartened as to not catching anything, but I'm glad that they got something to eat, even though we weren't here. That's a lovely, lovely shot. I don't think she heard me say that. Now, Warm One, you're wondering about this lioness's weight. It's hard to say because I don't know how obliging she'd be if I asked her to hop onto a scale. Also, I don't have a scale with me, but I would guess she's not a small lioness. I've noticed most of the lioness here are quite large, very stocky. So I would put her at maybe almost 150 kilograms. Somewhere around there, maybe a little bit less than that, although she's pretty big. She's definitely larger than the other lioness, the one that I think is a little bit younger. But they're big girls around here, very, very broad shoulders, stocky front legs, a lot of power that I think would come from these animals. And there she just sits, she's just watching over the rest of the pride. Now, in an ideal world, the rest of the cubs would come running out towards us and then play around, and one would fall in the water, another one would get stuck in the mud, and then there'd be a rescue mission, and we'd be sitting here witnessing this whole thing. In an ideal world, that's probably not going to happen, though. Sometimes I like to live in a fantasy world. But wouldn't that be nice? Even just to have them come out and have a drink. I don't think that the little ones have had a drink just yet. But it's not necessary that lions have a drink after they eat all the time. They do get a lot of the water from the animal itself that they're feeding on. And they have engorged themselves. I mean, look at them. They're not particularly panting heavily like we see the Nkuhumas and the Birminghams do after they have gobbled up a meal. They look fairly relaxed. Maybe a siesta is in order, lioness. Just a quick one, though, just enough to build up some energy to catch another buffalo, because they're still around. There's plenty of food. There's still lots of zebras, still lots of buffalo, and there's a couple of eland that keep coming down from the escarpment. They probably won't go for an elephant, so the elephants are safe, just because there's so much else about. And I also saw some giraffe on their favorite hill, too. And there were some giraffe calves. And we know that they were showing some interest in that at one point too. And that is lovely. Right, let's see if we can try and get a better view now that this lioness has moved up. Perhaps we'll be able to sneak in and see what remains on that carcass. Let's jump back on board with Steph.
Talking about views, just have a look at this. Isn't that just the most unbelievable thing, to be honest with you? It is a beautiful golden light afternoon on this green grass with grey and white and blue in the sky, and a slight dusty brownness to the contact zone between the earth and the sky, coming from all the animals just kicking up a dust storm. And then there's just all these animals in these plains, which is making it even better. It's just a very pretty afternoon from a scenery point of view, and I just thought that we'd share it with you there. Lovely, that Defassa waterbuck, zebra, and any multitude of animal behind them, and eland is lovely. Sometimes these scenes stick with you. That is the view that is going to be stuck with me And what is the Mara? That is it. Now, Stevie, you commented that it's a beautiful view with so many animals. Thank you. I'm glad that you share that with me. It's sometimes quite difficult to actually show you what I'm looking at through the camera. No matter how sophisticated these cameras get and the lenses that we've got, I mean, it is honestly amazing, the technology that we have on these vehicles. It's always sometimes difficult to show you what my eyes are seeing. I'm glad that it's coming through there. There's some warthog that have just come out onto the grass now. They're going for a late afternoon picnic. Go just get my bald shiny head out of the way. There's a funny folklore story that warthog run with their tails up because their skin was put on too tight. And when they run, the grass slaps their eyes and they have to close their eyes, and that pulls their tails up. When they stop, they open their eyes and their tails go down. You'll see when they run, they close their eyes because the grass slaps their eyeballs and the tails go up. And as soon as they stop and they open their eyes again, the tails will go down. Of course, that's not true for everyone out there. That is a following mechanism for their babies. Robin, you wanted to know, do people actually count and monitor the herds? They absolutely do. I mean, between game drives today, we had a research couple who are doing research on why drownings occur on the Mara River at the crossing points. They're cheetah researchers, they're rhino researchers, there's migration researchers, river researchers, elephant researchers, buffalo researchers. This place is crawling with researchers. And each of them have a different topic and each of them do a different thing, but it all boils down to the same thing. It's the scientific evaluation of basically whatever is going on out here. That's a black-headed heron, a common grassland heron out here. And so, yes, I mean, is there a census? Yes. Is it across the entire Serengeti Mara ecosystem? In batches, yes. Is it scientifically available to people? Yes. I don't know through what channels, but they absolutely are. I mean, just today I found out that there's water level monitors on the rivers where live you can go and see the temperature and the height of the river at that particular point at any time in the day. It's a live feed. You can access it. It's just, the amount of information out there is just astounding. It's just meeting all these people. I think scientists are by nature quite introvert people, and quite often you don't know where to find all this information. All right, Taylor's lions have now gotten up and are busy eating, and I think rather than having a look at this vista with me, go and have a look at that.
Well, thank you very much, kind sir. There's a lioness, there's the other girl that we couldn't really see, and guess what? I was wrong about what these lions were eating. Can you believe it? I am terribly sorry. I've fed you false information. I took a gamble, but there we go. You can see the tusk. It was a warthog that they killed. Now, we're sitting on a couple of sort of... well, I said we're on an island. We really are on an island. We even have a moat around us. It's quite nice. No crocodiles, though, protecting us, but disappointing. Or hippos, you know, like Pablo Escobar. Can we show them the moat, Darby, actually, just because it's quite cool. How great is this? I would build my house here. If I could build a house, this is where I would build one. It goes all the way down and around this island. It's beautiful. We were lucky to sneak across it. They dropped the drawbridge for us. They did not do that. Sorry, everyone. I don't know what's wrong with me today. I'm a little bit silly. But that's pretty cool that they caught this warthog. So I actually think that there must have been, I don't know if it's a male or female, it's sort of hard to tell, but I do see a pair of warts quite close to the tusks, and to me that would mean that it's perhaps a boar, and those quite robust big tusks, so maybe it is a lovely male. Well, he was lovely, and the lions are now eating him. And I'm sure that they think that he's quite lovely and tasty too. And I think he was living around here. There's definitely lots and lots of holes on the sides of termite mounds and in the sides of the embankments. And we know that's where warthogs like to live. So perhaps he got caught off guard. He was walking through here. Or maybe he was just resting here. Maybe he got up late, decided to come out of his burrow, and then whoops, lions got him. But they've eaten most of it. They've already devoured the rump, and they've already moved up towards the shoulders, and then it's really just the neck, and then that's it. So I think that they will be finished this carcass in the next 2 hours. I don't think there will be very much left here besides scraps, and I'm hoping that the lionesses, of course, do go out and catch something again, but it should be quite entertaining. These little ones should play with the bits and pieces of the warthog. I was listening to that question very, very carefully. And it's from Philip, and it's asking about an old wives' tale. And that is, I've heard the reason why males don't hunt is because their manes are too big. So no, it's not a wives' tale at all. I don't know why I said that. That's exactly one of the reasons why that inhibits a male lion from hunting. However, in an area like this, the grass is quite tall. There are shrubs darted all over the open areas. There's also some trees. So, and we see male lions on their own all the time. They've got to eat. They're not necessarily with the prides all the time, so they're capable of hunting. I reckon if you were to go into the desert like Namibia, it must become quite difficult for fully grown males to hunt, especially in those sort of arid areas. However, out here, it's not too bad at all. Look at that dirty face. Look at that. You can see that warthog is almost finished. And they don't even have massive bellies just yet. Well, not this lot. But we'll sit here and we'll watch them as they eat their bacon. Steph is the king of lions. He's found himself another big male.
Taylor doesn't know how false that statement actually is. I have a nasty reputation for not being able to find cats at all in my guiding career, now almost 20 years long. Just have a look at that fantastic view there. Just another one of those screenshot moments. That is the Mara sunset on whatever date it is today, and in it is a lion. We have got another lion. Today I'm using up all my lion credit. Here's a lion there. He's lying hidden behind a termite mound, and I think that is possibly why there are no other vehicles here. But what we have got is a line of wildebeest that are about to walk almost on top of this lion. Now if we can't see them, these wildebeest surely can't either. Now, male lions, as Taylor was just chatting to you about, are not the world's best hunters. But, given the opportunity, they will never fail at trying. And I think that, no, these wildebeest are now walking away. Male lion, generally speaking, will attack from about 15 yards away. 15 to about 25 yards away. And these wildebeest have now decided to walk off in a different direction. Who knows what made them do that? But I think they're moving out of strike range, so it's just going to be interesting to see what this male lion does, if anything. He is so fast asleep, I don't even think he knows that there's dinner walking within grasping distance of him. Yeah, he is so unaware of these wildebeest. What will happen is the sound will eventually reach him and he'll get a fright and look up, and the wildebeest will get scared and run away. Oh, Lauren, we're a reclining lion. Yes, absolutely. And it's, you know, these lions, you can see now, they're not as, they have got good hearing, there is no doubt. I mean, you can lion hear from a considerable distance away. But I don't think that he's heard these wildebeest, you know. They haven't seen him. These wildebeest have now walked within yards of a male lion. They don't know the lion's there. The lion doesn't know they're there. There are other lions here. There are 4 other lionesses here. And I wonder why they're not. Obviously just too hot. This lion doesn't know anything. It's almost like a bad joke. I can actually see another lion. There's another lion lying right there. 2 lions. So there's one that you're looking at, and then there's one left on the bush there as well. So there are, all the females are here. They just missed these wildebeest. How bizarre. All this lion needs to do is wake up and chase these wildebeest back. So there's one, and then there's another one there. 3 there. Craig has also just seen another one. So all the lionesses are here, Yeah. I don't think anything is going to happen here. I think these wildebeest have just walked this gauntlet unawares and have made it through the jaws of death here. How astounding. All right. We're going to sit here and see if anything develops. I think these lioness will take the advantage of anything coming this way, and so it's a good place to sit for a bit. And in the meantime, why don't we go and show you what active lions look like.
Well, yes, moving around a little bit more, but you can see there one, and the cub on the left has decided that it's too exhausting to sit up and eat, so it's just going to lay flat on his side and gobble up what's left of that warthog. Actually, I think it's our little cub it's our little girl. Yes, our light-coloured little girl that's doing this now. Isn't that sweet? And savage at the same time. But they're wonderful lions. I really cannot tell you how happy I am that they got a meal. Like, I felt so terrible for them. They kept trying, and if it wasn't the cubs messing up their hunts, then they just didn't have the elements on their side. But finally, they were successful. But I suspect that these cats are expert warthog hunters because, you know, the migrations are going to be heading off soon if the wildebeest ever come back. You know, they might just head straight into Tanzania and decide don't want to come north anymore. But James did say that he did see big herds of wildebeest as he flew over north of the Conservancy. So maybe they've still got to come back this way. That would be ideal, and pass through the triangle and head back down south towards Tanzania to the Serengeti. So I'm sure that they're well equipped at hunting warthogs, and we talk about this often as to how dangerous it can be. Hey, I'm actually just making some developments here. Look at all the mud that is on that warthog. Can you see? It's hard to see, obviously. You got to look past the one line, but I can just see that it is caked in mud. So maybe it wasn't coming out of its burrow late at all. Perhaps this has happened just, you know, fairly recently, and it was wallowing in the mud. Maybe the lions decided to come down to have a drink because it was hot. They've been trying to chase animals all morning long, and then they saw an opportunity. That's another possibility. Obviously, we can only speculate. We weren't here. We didn't watch it happen. But I think that sounds like a good idea. Oh, very quickly, go across to Steph.
Just have a look at how close these wildebeest have walked to this male lion, who still is completely unaware that his dinner is lying feet from him, and he's still hidden by the one. No, still hasn't seen him. Oh, wildebeest are thick. And where dinner was easy, it is now more difficult. That is amazing. And they walk out of the picture. That male lion has not even stirred. And these wildebeest are not trusting that thicket for good reason, as I think that they get ambushed out of it so often. And are now just walking along the edges. Yeah, it's amazing. I must share all your comments. Oh my gosh, oh my goodness, wow, it is amazing. It just shows you how close you can get to a sleeping male lion and how lucky these wildebeest are. Well done. Good choice there. A beautiful view there of these wildebeest. Diana, you've asked, surely they can smell him. I think this place is just so full of lion smells that unless the wind is blowing directly into the faces of these wildebeest, they wouldn't be able to smell it. And at some point, these wildebeest will be downwind from this lion, but unfortunately for the wildebeest, well, fortunately for the wildebeest, the wind has been blowing from them onto the lion, and they haven't been able to smell it. They will eventually get into another position where they'll be downwind, and then they will react, but it's not now. Now the wind is blowing from the lion to me, basically, and missing the wildebeest again. And they're about to exit this story. Leaving this lion, dreaming about dinner rather than having dinner. Wasn't that just amazing to see how close they were? Yeah, exactly. He's not proper catnapping, Alice just said. He is having a full-on unconscious doze. Oh well, he mustn't complain that he's hungry then today, hey? Let's see if we can get a bit closer to these females. And let's see what condition they're in at the moment. Also want to know why they didn't decide to react to these wildebeest passing by within a cat's whisker. I actually think that they may have, you know. There you go. And have a look at those females. They're definitely up. That's an alert lioness. That's a lioness that's decided that that was a wasted opportunity. You can just see the disappointment on her face there. Berating this man for not chasing the wildebeest at them so that they can catch it. Not pleased. The one on the right hand side is absolutely not pleased. You can see that face there, mouth open, twitching tail, flies plaguing them as their army. He is beautiful though. I find that the lions here have got quite thick muzzles. They don't have hairy chins like the ones that in the Sabi Sands do, or at least the Nkuhumas have got very sort of, I've got these very hairy chinny chins. These ones don't. But talking about chinny chins, Taylor's lions have got some bloody chins at the moment, and that actually makes for quite a nice view as well.
They do have bloody chins, covered, not just their chins that have got blood on them, their entire faces. And I absolutely love it when young lions get stuck into a meal, because we know, Archer, that nature has no manners. Well, they don't know any different. We like to use knives and forks, especially me. Even me, if I eat a pizza and a burger, I have to use a knife and fork. There's a little secret thing that you maybe didn't know about me. Yes, David, a pizza. I do not like it when food touches my hands. It's weird, I know, it's bizarre, but I don't know if you can call it a phobia. I just don't enjoy getting my hands dirty, and it's why I wipe them 150 times. So I wouldn't be a very good lion. I think if I was a lion, I'd probably be dead, because I would have starved to death, because I wouldn't have squabbled over my food. And that's what happens. Especially if you live in a big pride of lions and they only catch something small, you've got to fight for every last bit of food. Otherwise you won't make it. It's a tough world out here, isn't it? But the four of them are actually quite funny to watch, and it's interesting because our little girl, our pale little girl, is quite a feisty lion. She's the one that was arguing with the others. She was doing all the growling and the swatting, so maybe we'll get to see it again. But there isn't much left of this now. Yes, Alice, you're quite right. It is my favorite. I like that little girl. She's got a lovely personality. And that's what's so nice about sitting and watching the same prides over and over, you know, every day out, is that you get to learn the different personalities. And we know this so well with the Sabi Sand animals, from watching Karula grow and all her offsprings to now watching one of her offsprings take over her territory, Tandi. It's really fantastic, and that's the thing that I think I was looking forward to the most, other than the birding, was learning about the different behaviors and the different characters here in the Mara. And I have been spending a lot of time with the sausage tree pride. They are my favorite so far, just because we can get up close and personal with them, and they don't seem to mind our presence at all. The other lioness actually got up and walked away from us. Now we are trapped on Lion Island. We cannot escape here because the lioness is sitting right behind our car. You can't even see it. And there is nowhere else out from my spot now. Not that I'm worried about us being in danger or anything like that. Like we've seen, they're very relaxed. They walk right past the car. There's plenty of space for them to move around on. And she's felt comfortable enough to leave her cubs while I babysit them. Perhaps that's why they enjoy me so much, is because I just babysit the little ones while they go off and they do their own thing. Not that I'd be able to stop a hyena coming towards them or anything like that, but I just find that amazing, and how privileged we are. The fact that a wild lioness, two wild lionesses, will happily move away from the youngsters and put them Or put us in between them. They're not worried at all. Even when she walked past us, she didn't even look twice, as if to say, ooh, I'm watching you. She just carried on. She laid down. And if I don't fall out the car, I'm going to just have a little look. Oh, no, she's just looking around at the moment. I was just double-checking to make sure what's going on. But she will be keeping a close eye. And obviously, if I do anything silly, I'll be hearing about it in the forms of growls. But I won't do anything silly. I know better than to disturb these animals. Look at those big paws, though. Red paws. Sorry, Alice, can you please just repeat that again? I missed the beginning part, and then I'm worried that I don't have the question correct. Okay, so Philip, you've said if you encounter a lion, you should get out of your car and the lion will run away. I suppose, yes, if you were in a desperate situation, though I don't know if I would even suggest something like that, although I have actually done that before, and I'll tell you my story why I've had to get out the car before and chase lions away. But, you know, when you're in the car, you can drive faster than a lion. This machine is your safety, the vehicle, and it's why we are so lucky, and the animals habituate to it so quickly. But to us as humans, it's a different story. So yes, you will give a lion a fright. If I had to get out now, those cubs would race. If I had to get out and approach those lionesses, they'd probably run away, and then they might come back at me again. So I wouldn't recommend getting out of your car, but the chances of you having a nasty encounter with a lion are really next to nothing. So now I better explain myself. Of course, I just mentioned to you how I have indeed got out the car to chase lions before. So here's the scenario. It was two young male lions that had just started separating from the pride. The male wasn't tolerating them anymore, and this is on a private game reserve, 25,000 hectares, and these boys became exceptionally naughty. And when I say naughty, I don't know why. They would walk past the car and stand up on their back legs, maybe a meter away from the car, 3 feet away from the car, and look inside. I don't know what they were looking for. I have absolutely no idea why they would want to do something like that. That terrified me, because the fact that they're standing up like that goes, and they're big, they're not small, you know, 2.5 years old, it's not a small lion, it could do a lot of damage to you and I. So I made the decision, I'd cut my hands, I'm not going to do it too loudly, I don't want to scare them, or bang the door, and they just would not respond to it at all. Obviously they had guides doing it. The one day I'd had enough, they'd done it to me 3 mornings in a row, and I just said, this is ridiculous, they need to learn their lesson now. And I opened my door and I got out the car and I gave a big clap. Now, I'm not recommending this, but I had to do it. It actually put the stop to it. They never again came near a vehicle and stood up on their back legs. They were fine. They passed the vehicle, absolutely no problem. That was okay. But they stopped the standing up on their back legs. Now, that is an extreme situation. I've never, ever had to do that ever again in my life. I've done it once, and I hope that I don't ever have to do something like that again. And it was very sad and very unfortunate. Like I said, I don't know why they were doing something like that, but it was important that they knew that I didn't want an accident to happen before it was too late. And I was really lucky that that actually worked. So I'm not recommending it. I thought it was the right thing to do at the time, and it seemed to have solved the traded with other lions within that area to bring in new genetics. So hopefully that characteristic has not continued wherever they've gone, and I did put a stop to it permanently. Right, or they were just petrified of me. So it seems as though Steph's lions are now slowly starting to put their heads up. So let's go and have a look how beautiful their manes are.
Just look at him, and he's finally woken up, blissfully unaware that he missed dinner, and he is a superb example of a brilliantly fantastic East African lion. Nice barrel body, thick set, not too tall, but big enough. Nice limousine-like qualities. The only thing missing is the tuft of his tail, which is a slight detractor from his magnificence. And who knows what that wind's probably been bitten off while he was running away from something. Nice full mane. black fur coming through there. That's a sign that he's in charge of this area. High levels of testosterone. And just look at him. What are you now doing? Probably deciding where he's going to have a wee. They generally do that. Although he's looking at the lioness, who are not looking back at him. They are fast asleep. Let's see what he does. He's got his mane up. Might go back to sleep again. Yeah, there we go. Oh, he is a pretty boy. He actually is quite full, which is probably, maybe he did hear those wildebeest, just didn't care. Aileen girl, you want to know, do lions always take a nap when they finished a meal? No, not always. It depends on the size of the meal. A really big meal, they will. Lions have this habit of trying to bolt down as much food as they possibly can. And that's because it might get stolen at any point. It's not like you or I can take our time with dinner. Lions really have to wolf down as much as they can, just in case something else or someone else comes and takes it from them. And quite often they eat way more than what their bodies can actually, I suppose, no, this isn't what I want to say. Their bodies can handle it, but it's a vast quantity of meat, 25% of their body weight. Now, you know, after a huge meal, how you want to just go and lie down and rub your tummy and roll around a little bit and let it all move through. That's exactly what lions need to do, is they do almost exactly the same thing. And so after a big meal, they do have a tendency to lie down, I think. But it needs to be a really big meal, not just a little morsel. Now the wind has started to pick up, which is not uncommon for the evenings, but it's going to make for some lovely shots of the wind going through his mane, ruffling his fur. You can see how it's blowing his fur back now, bringing him smells from far and wide. I would love to be able to put on a helmet and basically smell what they're smelling. And Lorena, you've just commented on how majestic he looks, and I must agree with you, he does look majestic. The epitome of a male lion. A big ruff of fur around their neck, protects from bites, it protects from claw and tooth, but it also shows from a distance, especially in profile, how mature and how vital and how spectacular he is. And that is, as a display, male lions are so super powerful that if they had to fight every time they wanted to show who was bigger or who was smaller to a different male, there wouldn't be any male lions left. And so they do a lot of posturing. They roar, they mark territory using facial glands and urine spurting as high up as they possibly can, even scratch trees as high up as they can, and then if needs be, they'll sit in posture, they'll walk towards each other with their manes bristling and their muscles bulged out, and only as a last resort will they really go down to fighting, at least males that are the same size as one another. Now, Eric the poet, do you want to know if Scar's been seen around lately? I don't actually know, Eric, to be honest with you. I haven't been on Game Drive a lot in the last couple of months, and I know that Scar was seen last week, I think, or the week, it must have been last week. I can't remember, it may have been a week or two ago. I haven't heard or seen of him yet, but I'm not out as often as what the other guides are, and I don't have my finger on the pulse of these lions and their movement. So I don't actually know the answer to your question there, Eric. I'm sorry, I wish I could give you a little bit more information. Robert, you wanted to know if he looks larger than the Birmingham boys to me. Yes, he does. Does he look larger than the Matimba males? No. So the Matimbas were made up of, for those who have just joined us, the Matimba Male Coalition was a coalition of 2 male lions that, as far as I know, is still doing well on the Sand River and the Sabi Sands in the Kruger National Park. And we're made up of a relatively blonde male and a big black-maned, hairy-bellied male. And they were magnificent males. Is this lion bigger than that? I think he's longer in body than both of them, but he's not as stocky as the blonde male was. And he doesn't have as magnificent a mane as the hairy-bellied male was or is. He's a pretty big male lion. I must say, I wouldn't like to get into a scrap with him, but what I really do like about him is his long barreled body. I like males with that feature. Right, I'm going to be putting on my jacket. The temperature is dropping by degrees every 5 minutes, it feels like, over here. And while I'm doing that, why don't you go and have a look at what Taylor's up to?
We're still sitting here. We're not trapped on Lion Island anymore. The lioness quite happily came back this way. And she was actually laying right next to the car on the left-hand side. She was eyeing David out. No, I'm joking. She wasn't eyeing anybody out. She was, she's being attacked by flies, or I don't know if they're bees. I don't know what they are, but I can hear a substantial amount of buzzing. And she kept jumping up and looking sort of underneath her legs. So I don't know if something zapped her maybe while she was sitting about, but very happy to move around. She's back with her little ones again. But she is a very pretty lioness. And the youngsters are still gobbling about, and I suspect they're just going to keep gobbling until there isn't much left. And I think it's a good idea, because if those lionesses decide to come back in, well, size matters out in the bush. We know how important it is. Well, she might just come in and sort of boss them all and bowl them all out and start devouring on what's left. Just trying to look around, actually, while we're sitting here. The buffalo's still nearby. I'm just scanning behind me. There's still a couple of zebra here and there. So there's definitely opportunities for tonight for them to catch something, and they don't look too exhausted. Maybe it was a tactic by the lionesses. They knew if they could feed these little ones with just a snack, they'd have full bellies, they'd probably go to sleep, then they could go off and hunt something a little bit bigger. That would be the idea anyway. Well, that's how I would sort of handle it. And just starting to hear also the little birds doing their last little calls. The sun's basically gone down. Now, Paula, you're wondering if there are any albino lions? Well, I haven't, no, not white lions and things out here. I haven't seen any. What was that? Sorry, I'm hearing noises, but it's nothing. Sorry, I'm always just very, I try to be as attentive as I can when I'm out in the bush. I get distracted by all sorts of sounds, but it's sort of a good thing because it means that I hear things. So, Paula, no, I haven't heard anything out here. But you know what I was reading about today, by the way? I stumbled across an article about the white giraffe, the giraffe with leucism oh, what was that area called now? I've completely forgotten what that area is called. Started with an H, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, the female and her youngster, which I thought was so amazing. Now, I'm going on holiday soon-ish, well, at the beginning of October, and I'm thinking about where I should go, and I thought I maybe must explore Kenya while I'm here. So I want to see if I can't maybe try and get to that area to go and have a look around there, because I think it could be quite cool to see something like that, perhaps something once in a lifetime. And I remember we were talking about sort of white animals maybe a few weeks back or so, and someone had asked me if we get the, you know, albino giraffes, and well, it's not albinism, it's leucism in their case. So just a genetic mutation. Sure, the wind is howling. I don't know where it came from. Well, I suppose I don't know why I'm surprised every time it's windy here. This is typical, especially as night falls. Winds coming down the escarpment into the open areas. I thought that we would have been relatively sheltered here, so perhaps this is not a good spot to build a house. Hey, David, maybe we're going to... I love how I'm talking about we. I was going to build a big enough house so everybody can live in it. So maybe I'm going to change my spot. It's actually not very pleasant here whatsoever. Oh, our other lioness is now moving around. She's gone down there. Where are you going? She's got a good spot in there, though. She's in a bit of a lugger, a drainage line. Moving on. Not hanging around here for too much longer. Maybe we can follow her. Should we do that? I think so. Before we get trapped again, let's try and get out of here. Thank you, lions. No, I need to try not reverse into a hole or get stuck in the mud wallow. That would be terribly embarrassing. David, how am I on your side? Am I fine? I'm just going to go straight back. And then I think we should be okay. Can I go left and down? Wonderful. Perfect. Look at that. We didn't get trapped. That was surprising. I thought that was going to be a lot more difficult than it actually was, but it turned out to be not so bad. Right, up we go. This is not too bad of an incline, it's just a little one. Sorry girl, we're going to follow you now. I want to see where you're going to go. Okay. Ooh. Some unhappy birds. Must have a nest on the ground somewhere, so I'll move out of their way. And then I'll stop just here. There we go. Now you can really see how the grass is blowing about. She's moving further away. Here comes the other lioness, is coming to join her. Also just coming down and through the lugger. Where are these girls going to go next? Are they just coming out here for a snooze, or are they plotting their next attempt to catch an animal? We'll have to just wait and find out, won't we? Well, to be continued. We're going to stay here. We'll see what these girls get up to. Steph has got a mane blowing in the wind. I'm not sure if he's talking about his or the lion.
Definitely talking about the lions, I think, in this particular case. Thanks, Taylor. This male lion is doing not much. He's just sitting with his head up, face into the wind, probably trying to analyze exactly what is coming to him on the wind. I can only imagine what it must be like to have the senses of a lion, and a wind like is blowing now into his face that basically would carry sense from miles and miles away and concentrate it all into his head. I'd like to say it's overwhelming, but I think he's just having a quick snooze again. Now these lionesses are lying off on our left-hand side, and there are some zebra approaching them. They're not too close, and there's a big drainage line between the lion and those zebra, but you never know. You can see those zebra there now on the right-hand side of the screen, bunching up to come this way. They know that there's a drainage line here. The wind is blowing from us to them. They know that the lions are there. And time will tell to see if they're willing to brave the crossing or not. So the wind is blowing from us to those lions, from us to the lions, and of course from the lions to the zebra. And as long as you're downwind of a lion and in line with that lion, you will be able to smell them. They're not the cleanest of animals. A lot of impala in the background, top right as well. And impala do form part of a lion's diet. Very much so in the Kruger National Park, in fact. But out here, I don't know. It's very difficult to say. There's not a lot of lion researchers that are out at night time in the Mara. I'm sure there have been over the years, just right now, not too much. These lionesses, just waiting for full dark to come about, when all the advantages, as many as what can be in their advantage, are. Or in their favor, I should say, are. Paula, you've asked what would be my perfect drive. That's a very interesting question, Paula. It's not going to be a drive, Paula. It's going to be a walk if I can ask for the condition to be changed from a drive to a walk. Where would I like to walk? Here in the Mara, I'd love to walk and stroll in the forests, in these old wood forests, the forest you're looking at right now. I would love to stroll and walk on the banks of the rivers of these old wood forests. And so that would be my ideal walk, would be inside here. I think it would be super exciting and very pretty. And I think the fact that this forest is so rare, I think there'd be a timelessness inside there, and a peacefulness that you'd feel, as well as being quite scary, I think. But to answer your question, I think, so, you know, what would be my perfect game drive to see? That's actually quite a difficult question. I'm very in for scenery, and I suppose unfolding action is also pretty exciting. I mean, seeing a lion hunt is always exciting, or cheetah, or wild dog, or leopard. I'll think on that a little bit more, if you don't mind. That is a very deep question to answer. But I think if I had to just, succinctly answer you, it would be substituting the drive for a walk and definitely strolling around in those old wood forests on the bank of the Mara River. That would be the preference, the Christmas present, for lack of a better word. It's now getting dark very quickly, and these clouds that are around us are also adding to the ominousity that is around us, or this ominous feeling, I should say. That's looking straight south into Tanzania, where all the wildebeest have disappeared to. So we got confirmation today from our networks of colleagues and peers out there that the wildebeest have almost entirely left the Mara, and a group of them are lying north of the Mara in the conservancies but heading towards Tanzania. The other group of them, and the majority of them, are already in Tanzania in a place called the Lamai Wedge, which lies just south of where we are, probably about 20 kilometers, maybe 30 kilometers from where we are now, in the direction you're looking at now, where those clouds are. And there's a very good chance that they see these rain clouds now and they come back north again. There's always that chance. And quite often they do that. They have this sort of late season flurry before disappearing then back to the Serengeti and to Ndutu and the open plains on the volcanic grasslands there. As soon as the rains go back, the grasses are much better quality there. And as soon as it starts growing, the wildebeest will go and disperse amongst that vast wilderness that is down there and have all their babies, basically, before returning here again. Alice, would you mind just repeating the first part of Mr. P's question there? I just missed it. Are buffalo the only ones who counterattack when hunted? Mr. P, you've asked that question now, and I'm assuming when hunted by lion. Yeah, elephant do. Buffalo tend to have the most buffalo will tend to interact, will counteract the sort of most with a plan. You can see that they're the most comfortable with it. Elephant will come counteract just because they are aggressive. But I've even seen zebra and giraffe counterattack lions hunting them. So I don't think it's only buffalo, if I were to answer your question quickly. But I definitely do think that buffalo are the calmest about it and have the best strategy. Males will come forward, they'll form a skirmish line, and together they will move forward at lions. They won't singularly do it in these panicked rushes that you see elephant or zebra do, or giraffe for that matter of fact. So I definitely think that they have the most sophisticated counterattack, but definitely not the only animals that do counterattack, I think, to finish there. Picture changed because we put on an infrared filter, and now the camera is a little bit more sensitive to infrared light, which is allowing us to see into the dark without that graininess from the previous filter, allowing us to, without artificial lights, look at these cats. Mr. Kylie, you want to know why it's darker earlier? Is it going to rain? And for that, I'm going to ask Craig to just go over my head here and look west. And you'll see that there are a large number of very dark clouds everywhere. Now, those clouds are above us, but behind those clouds, there where Craig is pointing there, is the largest clouds of all. Those were those massive cumulus clouds we looked at this afternoon and have now almost disappeared into the blueness in terms of height. Whether it'll rain or not tonight, I don't know. My experience with rain in the Mara is that it rains at sunset or close to sunset. And if it's going to rain, it's a pretty blustery, stormy night. This just looks like it's going to perhaps make a bit of noise and then blow over. I don't know if it's going to. There you can still see that it's blue sky out west. And that sun, the last little bit of the twilight now disappearing. A good question. It definitely got dark because there's a lot of black clouds in the sky and there's not as much light refraction. Is it going to rain? It might do. Big enough clouds around. Isn't that just lovely? Now, a little bit earlier, we were talking about the browse line and the trees here, and you can see that over that lion's head. Look at that very straight line. That is not just because of an angle that we're sitting at that has made that. That is a specific browse line from giraffe on these trees, which are mainly made up of Wildebeest trees. And that is giraffe that have done that. Isn't that amazing? Eaten almost like goats, this sort of undercover or understory. And that is just very typical of these thickets out here and down on the plains. Eric, the poet, has just asked me a question on whether I've ever seen predators hunt predators for food and not for competition. So that would be lion hunting leopard, or leopard hunting jackal, or honey badger hunting a python. I would say, Eric the poet, that it is probably almost always competition. I have seen predators eating look at that evil look from that lion, that reflection from his tapetum lucidum in the back of his eyeball. I have seen lions eat a hyena that they've killed. I have seen leopard eat cubs that have been killed by hyena or wild dog or lion. I've seen honey badgers eating pythons that they've killed. I've seen leopard eating pythons that they've killed. But it doesn't look like they're doing it for food. They first look like they killed it because of eliminating competition, and then realized, oh, but hang on, wait, I can actually eat this and it'll be a waste if I don't. It wasn't like I know it sounds weird me saying this, but it didn't look like they hunted it for food and then ate it. Yeah, that's a good question there, Eric the poet. No, I don't think that they kill other predators for food. I think that they kill it for competition, and then I think they eat it because they realize that it'll be a waste if they don't. That's basically what I think. Might be something different, I don't know. Now that reflection that you're seeing in that lion's eyes is from a layer of light reflective crystals, so super refractive crystals in a membrane on the back of the lion's actual eye socket. And that layer of light reflective crystals is called the tapetum lucidum. And well, oh, big yawn. No big yawn. That light that we're seeing is the fact that the few small lights that we have coming off of this car, basically the only light is to light up my bald head so that you can see me, is reflecting into the lion's eye, being magnified by the lens, and then remagnified as it comes back out, bouncing off the back of the eye. And that's what we're busy seeing there, is a magnified light from our car. And we are 50 yards away from that lion. Oh, that's a bigger yawn. Come on, man, put some effort into it. But isn't that just a spooky look? Big belly, just turning around there. Oh, lays down again. Now he's busy looking at his females. Anyway, why don't we go and have a look and see what Taylor's lions are doing?
We are looking at the most beautiful skyline, though, and that is the last of the light. We're also in infrared now, so no more lights for us. Everything will be, well, very dark from here on out. We probably won't stay with these lions for too much longer, just because the lionesses are resting up at the moment. Perhaps they'll get going a little bit later, but I reckon that they need a little bit of a break, especially after catching that warthog. You see tail flicking here and there. I don't even know where the other lioness went. I think while we're doing a camera change, we literally took our eyes off them for about 2 seconds, and whoops, we thought we lost them. But luckily they didn't go too far. They just went back to the spot where the cubs were. The other girl, I presume, is there, or she might be trying to keep out of the wind. Maybe she's ducked into that little sort of gully spot where we first found them. That could possibly be the case. Now, a very interesting question, in fact, from Paula. Have lions and cheetah ever been known to work together? I don't think so. They're direct competition for one another, more so the lions are for the cheetah. Obviously, cheetah being a smaller cat, venture down further on the predator hierarchy, or itchy belly. I love it when they do that. So no, I don't think that would be the case. Whether the cheetah would be chasing after something and the lions come on in and swoop their kill up, that wouldn't surprise me. I reckon that probably happens quite often. It would surprise me if it happened the other way around. If cheetah stole a kill from a lion, I don't think that would happen. Even one lioness could do quite a bit of damage too. A couple of cheetah, even. They're much larger, much stronger. Cheetah are quick, so they can try and run away, but brute force is definitely in favor of the lions, like I said, even if you are a lioness. So no, I don't think that would ever happen. Not at all. I don't think I've ever seen two different species of predators working together before, in terms of like lions, leopards, and cheetah. I haven't seen that. What are you going to do, girls? For me, this is the trickiest part. Oh, there's a buffalo. Can you see the buffalo just at the back? Oh, are you going to come wandering on over here? Hello, buffalo. Have the lion seen you yet? No, she hasn't. She has not glanced over into the distance. I can't see the buffalo with my eyes. I can't even see the lion with my eyes. It's so dark out there. So remember, we are using these special low light cameras, and that are equipped with the infrared lights that doesn't affect the animals at all. Not sure what's going to happen here. Let's see. Like I said, I don't think she's actually seen the buffalo just yet. Let's see if there's any more buffalo. No, I can't see them anymore. There she goes. She's just about to pop out behind that tree, just walking through the gap. We are on the other side of the drainage line, but there is a crossing point up a little bit ahead. The only problem is our lens is very long. It is going to be very bumpy as we drive around to try and reposition. You can't look at my beautiful long blonde ponytail. Like I said, the lens is way too long. Let me just figure out where you going, girl. The cubs are moving. We can have a quick look at them. They're just over there. Just want to watch what happens here, because we'll have to go quite a way around to try and get back with this lioness. But there they are. Faces still full of blood, panting heavily. I think you're ready for a rest now, aren't you? Okay, well, let's try and maneuver. Like I said, unfortunately, it's going to be very bumpy. And we're not going to be able to keep eyes on the lions, because I'm going to need to keep driving. I don't want to miss any action. So I do apologize. There's the other lioness. Here she goes. So let's go and investigate. We're going to head around while I just maneuver the car into a better spot where we can sit quietly. I'm going to send you back across to Steph, and hopefully his lions are starting to wake up.
Just saw the end of the yawn if you're lucky enough there. And these lions are starting to wake up at the moment. We've actually got some zebra approaching. That's what he's busy looking at. We didn't know why he turned around. We've got some zebra and some impala busy approaching from right there, just to the left-hand side. And what I'll try and do is put my spotlight on quickly so that you can see those little eyes. So there's the zebra and the impala there. And they're still quite far away. The lions were lying in the foreground here, but they have disappeared, and they may be hunting. I don't know. It's so difficult to say. So what we're going to do is we're just going to sit here and see if something happens. There's the male lion. He's now going to ruin the hunt by walking in on the females. He'll at least show us where they are, though. Very typical scrape mark. Now, when you're tracking a lion, quite often that's what you see, is the foot scrape marks, where they scrape away the grass and then they urinate on the sand. And it just holds the smell of their urine a little bit longer. There's a lion roaring in the distance, which is why he stopped. He may even roar back. Let's see. So he stopped because a lion was roaring. But why don't we quickly go and see what Taylor's got? She's got something happening.
Right, look how quickly this lioness maneuvered around. I think we're going to have to go live to Facebook. This could get quite interesting because there's a big buffalo than we anticipated, and he's coming straight towards her. He's all on his own. Wow. You can hear the wind is gusting. Hello everybody and welcome to this live broadcast from the heart of the Mara Triangle in Kenya. We are about to watch something fantastic. That is a lioness curled up in the grass. That is one of the most dangerous animals in Africa coming straight towards her. Now we're sitting in complete darkness. We're sitting with infrared lights. These animals can't see the light. I can't see what's going on around me besides on my monitor. Like I said, this is live. It's happening right now. So if you have any questions for me, you are more than welcome to comment away. This is a big animal for one lioness to potentially take on by herself. I don't think that this buffalo knows she's there. She's just stood up. Listen to the buffalo. He might chase her. He's not standing up for her nonsense. Look at that. He grunted and snarled at her. Yes, you got to be careful, girl. This buffalo could kill this lion, and she's got young cubs. She's running past us. We have to be very careful that he doesn't run at the car. He's still not growling. It sounds like he's growling. I promise that's not the lion. That's the buffalo. Now, Rishi, you wondering if there's a hunt about to happen? No, I don't think so anymore. Well, the tables have turned here. Let me see where the buffalo is going. The lioness wanted to go after this buffalo. She's now calling back for support for the other lioness. This is the sausage tree pride that we have here. So we just got the two girls with their 4 cubs. She's actually saying, come help, I presume. And Patsy, you're wondering if a lioness could take on a lone buffalo. They could, but it'd be a hard match. A big male lion has a better chance, and I've seen male lions on their own taking down big buffalo bulls on a number of different occasions. I think she made a wise choice there, not going for that buffalo. He is much larger than her. He probably weighs about between 800 and 850 kilograms, not a small buffalo. And if she weighs 150 kilograms, she's a big lioness. So that's a big, big meal. But I think, oh, hang on, let me reverse, David. The other lioness is behind us. I don't think the girl in front knows what's happened. I apologize, the camera's going to shake just a little bit. We're just moving. We have got a massive lens on, a special low light nighttime lens that allows us to view these animals, but I need to do a little bit of repositioning. I'm trying to figure out where that buffalo bull's gone, if they're going to tail after him. They have eaten a warthog. They caught a warthog earlier today. There's the other girl I was telling you about, but not a massive meal. It really is just a snack for them. Let's see, the cubs have also come out now. They better stay hidden. Could be very dangerous for them. If that buffalo gets wind, sorry David, there we go, that buffalo gets wind that those cubs are around, they could quite easily, or he could quite easily go over there and trample them. Buffalo kill many lions every single year. Ingrid, you said that the buffalo kill lion cubs too. They're most certain. Trying to figure out what's going on here. 1, 2, 3. I'm counting the cubs very quickly. I just want to make sure that they're all here. That is one of the cubs. That's not the other lioness. That was very, very dangerous what that youngster did. That youngster actually ran after the buffalo. We had our backs turned so we couldn't see very well. There they go. A bit of playful spirit amongst them now. Very, very silly for that. Let me reposition again for you. For that cub. He went over chasing after that buffalo like he could take it on. One false move, one horn to that cub, even just a hoof big trouble. They keep turning round and round, but that buffalo has now run away. He's moved on. The buffalo escaped unharmed, and so did the lioness and their cubs. So that was a close one. That could have gone either way, and they're moving off. Very, very exciting nonetheless. I'm quite happy though that the lions escaped, and well done to the buffalo, but it doesn't look like a hunt is going to materialize just yet. They could still go for something a little bit later. There's lots of animals around, so keep a lookout for those notifications when we go live. Remember, we're the only ones out here after dark. We're very lucky. So for myself and David, how exciting. It's so fantastic. We're going to follow the sausage tree pride, and hopefully you'll hear from us a little bit later. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us for that. Wasn't that exciting? I definitely was sitting on the edge of my seat, but I was more worried that the tables were going to turn and that buffalo was actually going to have a proper go at that lioness. That was my real concern. And then the fact that that young male cub chased after the buffalo, a little bit silly, very, very sort of inexperienced on his part, and he was lucky that that buffalo didn't turn and come from him, because if that had happened, mom could not save the life of their cub. If a buffalo gets hold of one of the youngsters by stomping and stabbing with its horns, it's not very pleasant. So I'm glad that that buffalo decided to run for his life after standing up to a lioness. But it just shows you, though, how tough and mean the buffalo are out here, and they are not to be messed with. And I keep saying this. I keep saying that the lions of the Mara, they're nervous of buffalo. They know what they can do. We had that other sighting a couple of evenings ago with the Ngama Pride, where they were chased right off of their termite mound through a drainage line, where luckily they was safe. Very scary. Here we go. Here's a little one practicing now. Whee! Chase after your siblings. Yes, pretend that that's a buffalo. That's a safer place to play under the watchful eye of mom or auntie. Right, let's go back across to Steph and see how he's faring in infrared.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to this line. I just heard that it was so exciting seeing those buffalo just narrowly escaping from those lions. Isn't that cool? We've been chatting about it the whole day, and you get to see it in action tonight. Really special. This male lion hasn't done much. He's cocking his ear towards us because I decided to... I was speaking a bit loud probably. I got a bit excited there. And you can see that his ears are now pointed back towards us, listening carefully as to what we do. Quite often that is the only way that I judge whether I'm too close or too far away from a lion. And that if they are not listening forward and constantly have an ear pointed in our direction, then I know that we're a bit too close and that I need to create some space. And he doesn't seem fazed at all. He stood up, moved a little bit, staring at the female lions, and is now basically just on the other side of a drainage line to them. There you can see the back of his ears now, and so I know that he's cocking it towards me again. So I know I need to speak a bit quiet. There the ear goes forward again. No, still cocked towards us. That is weird, because he hasn't shown any reaction to us the whole day. And now all of a sudden he's got his ear. There the ear goes forward again. So I'm going to keep quiet now. I'll speak a bit softer at least anyway. I can never keep quiet, of course. It'll just be a bit softer. there that ear cocks towards us again. No, still forward. Okay. Another noise off to the right. Now there's so many animals walking around here at the moment. Could be anything. Could be elephant, could be buffalo. And this is where us as humans are so out of our depth. You don't know what's going on when it gets dark. We've just got these pokey little spotlights on a blustery dark evening like this. It can be quite overwhelming. Lions perfectly at ease. There the ear is now cocked forward. So he's a little bit more comfortable with me talking now. I think we were quiet for so long, and then my sort of over-enthusiastic welcoming back of you had a bit of an effect on him. But he seems to have dealt with that. And now you can see, no, it's still coming our way. Could be a noise from behind us. I'm not discounting the fact that it's... But you can see we're very far away from this male lion. And it could be a number of factors. What it might be doing is it might be my loud voice coupled with the fact that the wind is blowing directly from... Oh, excuse me, that's my big white head. I was just busy moving around in the car. The wind is blowing directly from us onto that male lion. So he's got a smell of 3 humans and a diesel car and whatever perfumes and soaps and detergents we've been... And that may be playing at a subconscious level on his mind. We're sort of infusing his nostrils with foreign smells. Of course, this is all at a very minimal level, and something that I've just been training myself over the years to be sensitive to. As you can see, we are very far away from this male lion. Louise, do lions sleep better in the dark, you ask? Do lions see better in the dark? I would probably add on to your question, better than a elephant, or better than a giraffe, or better than a human. And let's answer those 3 things. They definitely see better than a giraffe, human, and an elephant. But to what degree do they see better is a good question. Inside a lion's eyeball, inside any eyeball, there are 2 light-sensitive organelle, rods and cones. Cones help see color, and rods help to... the more rods you have, basically, the better you can see in the dark or in low light conditions. Now, lions, although they have cones, they don't have a lot of them. And the available space taken up in the rest of the eyeball is taken up with rods. And so lions need a lot less light than an animal with, like us, for instance, who have a significantly higher count of cones in our eyes. So we're able to judge color differences. Not that lions are color blind, they just don't see color as well as what we do. The reason for this is quite simple. Lions hunt at night, and they have a strategic advantage to having more rods in their eyes than say I do, and that it helps them with camouflage and to get close to animals before they pounce on them and eat it. Humans need a lot more cones in their eyes because we need to judge the relative freshness of food. We are essentially, if you believe in evolutionary biology, we are essentially primates, and we eat a lot of vegetables. We've got dentition for vegetation, we've got a intestine for vegetation, and we need to judge when this vegetation is ripe and ready. And so we've substituted the space that we have in our eyes. Of course, if we had massive eyeballs like a giant squid, we can fill it with both rods and cones, but we don't. Our skulls are filled with brains, and so it doesn't leave a lot of space for an eyeball. And so in our eyes, in our eyeball at least anyway, or in our optic nerves, we have the rods in the cones. And although we've got some rods, which allows us obviously to see in full moon nights and when there's a little bit of light around, we definitely don't have as many as a lion, but we do have more cones, and it allows us to then see a lot better color. Quite a tough one to explain that. I hope I did an adequate job. Now, on the base of the tail, we're having a look at the undercoat of the lion. So we're able to, at this angle, see the undercoat of the lion there, which is that dark ridge along the spine. Now, although lions do have a darkish ridge along their spine, their undercoat is quite dark. And you can see it on the legs, basically on the back legs. As soon as the top fur starts to thin out, that undercoat becomes more visible, and you can see it as those stripes on the back legs there. And if you rub a lion's fur the wrong way, apart from being surprised at how super dense and thick it is, you will then get to those darkish hairs as the undercoat underneath those blonde grass-colored fur that they have lining their flanks. How flat these lions go as well. I mean, that's an enormous animal. You saw when he was walking a little bit earlier how big he actually is. He's easily upwards of about 400 pounds, maybe even more than that. And he's lying about as flat as the grass. The grass's bases. He's lying around. It's amazing. Right, we're going to be sending you over to Taylor, who's got an update on her lions for you.
We don't have lions anymore. I'm having a light crisis as we speak. Not a midlife crisis, just a light crisis. My lights won't work anymore, my headlights. But should we have a look at Mara, at Ngama Mara? I can show you Ngama Mara. It's because our lens is so long and we don't really have anything to show you, unfortunately. The roof. Can you see those? There the lights are. So that, my dear friends, who are everyone that is watching, is the beautiful Ngama Mara situated up on the escarpment. Isn't that lovely? You get the twinkling of the candles and the lights. It's so romantic. It must be windy though at this time of night up there, but nevertheless quite spectacular. I think that would be the most amazing spot to watch the moon rise and the sunrise, although we're quite lucky we have a similar view watching the sunrise every single morning. But it's been a wonderful day, don't you think? I've had a lot of fun today, so thank you all very, very much for that. I'm not ending the show. I'm just showing my appreciation because I don't have an animal to show you, unfortunately. But thank you again for everything that you do, for always researching and finding out information, whether it be how many bones an elephant has or perhaps jokes, you know, all these different things that you do for us. Thank you very much. I don't think we say thank you very much enough to all of you, so I just thought that I would do that on behalf of everyone. But it's been exciting. I've thoroughly enjoyed spending time with the Sausage Tree Pride, and it's just a pity they've got into that difficult spot to get into. I don't know if I really want to go there now at night and get stuck. Oh. Now, here's a great one. Now, Luna, you're wondering where we sleep when we stay out all night. Do we stay inside the car or do we make little tents? Well, if you're Scott, you sleep on top of your roof, which is pretty cool. He must have the most amazing view on a cloudless night, unlike tonight. Otherwise, what we do is, we've got mattresses. If you've got reinforcement cage on top of your roof like Scott, and hopefully we'll do that with the rest, then we'll sleep up top there, be quite nice, you're off the ground. Otherwise, we normally just drop the rain flaps that we have, so the rain covers on the sides, and it becomes very cozy. Leave a little one open though to let the breeze come through. And then you put your mattresses on either side of where David sits, where in the other come-up sit, and you just enjoy and you just rest. And so that's sort of what you do when you're out here. For those of you that are just joining in for the last couple of minutes and you're wondering why you're not looking at anything, we've got our very special camera on, and this has got a monster of a lens. And unfortunately, our lions have disappeared, so we're just sort of enjoying the grass blowing at the moment and looking at the lights of Ngama Mara. There's a lovely piece of grass for you, oat grass, fantastic. I'm going to send you back across to Steph. He's got a beautiful cat that you can actually see.
What an absolute pity that your lions have managed to give you the slip. That's unfortunate. Our lion has not done anything. It is unconscious, not unfortunate at the moment. And what is happening though above us is the clouds are not moving, but it is clearing up a little bit. I actually even think that we may be able to see the Southern Cross, if I'm not mistaken. Is it really? Oh, no, I don't think so. It would be nice if it is. It reminds me of home. I think this is going to be it for our lions for tonight, to be honest, and it's coming to the end of the show now as well. I don't think this lion is going to be doing anything special. With his full belly and his full females, his brother not lying too far away, hopefully not being plagued by flies anymore. It's been a fantastic afternoon with you, I must be honest. Thank you so much for all your support and your questions as always. And I just want to say thank you to my crew here. They're just a fantastic bunch of people on both sides, both here at Juma and here in the Mara with us. They really work hard to do all these special things for you. So thank you to them. Thank you to you, of course, for your support. If it wasn't for your questions and all the fantastic interactivity that we have with you, we wouldn't have a show like we have today, and I wouldn't be sitting here doing what I love best, being out in the bush with everything here. So thank you very much to all of you. I just want to say good night to wherever you are in the world, and we will see you tomorrow for the Sunrise Safari.